walk into this guarded. I didn't play games. I didn't keep one foot out the door. I trusted you. I trusted your words. I trusted the way you looked at me like I was safe. I trusted the version of you showed me when it was just us. And that's what hurts the most. Not that you left, but that you let me believe you wouldn't. I opened up in ways I don't do often. I told you things I never say out loud. I let myself feel comfortable being soft around you, and you watched me do that. You knew how much it meant. You knew how careful I was with my heart, and you still broke it. Not all at once, not dramatically, slowly. You pulled back without explanation. You changed without warning. You stopped choosing me, but kept me close enough to not fully let go. And I stayed longer than I should have because I believed in the version of you I first met. That's on me. I ignored the signs. I excused the distance. I told myself you were just overwhelmed, just busy, just figuring things out. But the truth is, you were figuring out life without me, and I was still holding space for you, like you were coming back. What really broke me wasn't losing you. It was realizing I trusted someone who didn't protect my heart the way I protected theirs. You didn't just hurt me. You changed how I trust. Now I question things I never used to. I hesitate where I used to be open. I hold back where I used to give freely, not because I'm bitter, but because I learned the hard way that not everyone deserves access to me. I don't regret loving you. I regret trusting you with something you weren't ready to hold, and that's the part I'm still healing from. Not the heartbreak, but the betrayal of believing you were different. What messed me up the most was how easy it was for you, how easily you switched up, how quickly I became optional, how natural it felt for you to move on like nothing happened. Meanwhile, I was still trying to understand when things changed. I kept replaying conversations, looking for the moment where I messed it up, where I said too much, where I trusted too fast, because that's what you do when someone breaks your heart quietly. You don't get closure, you get questions. And the hardest one is always the same. How could you do this after everything I trusted you with? You knew my past. You knew how careful I was. You knew how long it took me to open up again. And instead of protecting that, you treated it like something temporary, like something you could step into and walk away from without consequences. I wasn't perfect, but I was honest. I didn't hide how I felt. I didn't pretend. I didn't keep you guessing. And that's why it hurt deeper. Because I didn't lose you to dishonesty. I lost you to indifference, to the realization that I mattered more to myself than I ever did to you. And that's a hard thing to swallow when you trusted someone with your heart. After you broke my heart, it didn't just hurt, it rewired me. I didn't notice it right away. At first it was just silence, just heaviness, just missing you more than I wanted to admit. But then it showed up in how I loved. I stopped being as open, stopped saying things the moment I felt them, stopped assuming good intentions, not because I wanted to, but because trust didn't feel safe anymore. Before you, I believed if I was honest, I'd be met with honesty. If I was loyal, I'd be protected. If I trusted someone, they'd respect that. You broke that belief. Now every connection comes with hesitation. Every feeling comes with a pause. Every time someone gets close, a part of me wonders how long before they leave too. And that's the part that hurts quietly. You didn't just walk away. You made me doubt the version of myself that loved without fear. I catch myself holding back even when I don't want to. I catch myself preparing for loss before anything even begins, because trusting you taught me how much it costs when it goes wrong, and I hate that. I hate that your actions made softness feel like a liability, that honesty now feels risky, that love feels like something I have to guard instead of give. I'm not colder, I'm not heartless, I'm just more careful with a heart you proved can be broken even when it's given genuinely, and that's something I'm still learning how to undo. The anger didn't come right away. At first I blamed myself for trusting too fast, for believing too much, for not seeing it sooner. But anger shows up when the fog finally clears, when you realize you didn't ask for too much, you just asked the wrong person. I wasn't wrong for trusting you. I wasn't weak for opening up. I wasn't naive for believing your words. You just didn't deserve the level of honesty I gave you. And that truth stings, because it means the pain wasn't a lesson about loving better. It was a lesson about choosing better. You knew knew what you were doing. You knew how much I cared. You knew how much trust cost me. And you still chose yourself without considering the damage. That's where the anger lives, not in hatred, but in clarity, in the realization that I gave real effort to someone who treated it casually, that I showed up while you slowly checked out, that I protected your feelings while you ignored mine. And I don't hate you for leaving. I'm angry because you stayed long enough to earn my trust and left like it never mattered. That kind of hurt doesn't make you loud. It makes you precise. It teaches you that love without accountability isn't love at all. And from that point on, I stopped questioning my worth and started questioning why I ever doubted it. At some point, I stopped waiting for closure from you. Not because I got answers, but because I realized I wasn't going to. You never explained yourself, never owned the hurt, never acknowledged what it cost me to trust you, and for a while that ate at me. I wanted you to see it, to understand what you broke, to say something that made it make sense. But silence was the end, not the one I wanted, the one I needed, because it showed me that the kind of closure I was looking for was never coming from you. So I had to give it to myself. I had to accept that some people don't leave loudly. They leave by slowly caring less and letting you figure it out alone. I had to accept that trusting you wasn't the mistake, expecting accountability from you was, and that acceptance was heavier than anger ever was, because it meant letting go without resolution, without apologies, without the comfort of being understood, just truth, the truth that I loved honestly, the truth that I trusted genuinely, the truth that you didn't meet me there. And as painful as that is, it also freed me, because I stopped replaying the past trying to fix something that was never mine to fix. I stopped waiting for you to validate my pain. I didn't need your explanation to know I was hurt. I didn't need your apology to know I deserved better. Sometimes closure isn't a conversation. Sometimes it's the moment you stop giving someone access to a heart they already proved they wouldn't protect. After everything fell apart, the hardest thing wasn't trusting someone new. It was trusting myself again, trusting that my instincts weren't broken, trusting that my heart wasn't a liability, trusting that loving you didn't mean there was something wrong with me. Because when someone breaks your heart like that, you don't just lose them, you lose confidence in your judgment. You start second-guessing everything. Was I blind? Was I too much? Did I imagine the connection? And for a while I believed the problem had to be me. But slowly that started to change. I realized something important. I didn't ignore red flags. There weren't clear ones at the beginning. You showed up. You said the right things. You made me feel safe enough to trust. That wasn't stupidity. That was honesty. So instead of punishing myself for believing in you, I started respecting myself for how genuine I was. I stopped calling my openness a mistake, stopped treating my softness like a flaw, stopped blaming myself for someone else's inability to show up. Rebuilding trust meant accepting this truth. I didn't fail myself by trusting you. I honored who I am. And that matters, because if I harden completely, if I shut down every part of me that still wants connection, then the heartbreak wins twice. So I'm learning balance. I don't rush trust anymore, but I don't deny it either. I don't hand my heart over blindly, but I don't lock it away. I listen to myself now, to discomfort, to patterns, to silence that says more than words ever did. Trust isn't gone, it's just more intentional. And this time, the first person I trust is me. Missing you doesn't mean I want you back. That took me a while to understand, because grief doesn't disappear just because you know someone wasn't right for you. Longing doesn't mean regret, and sadness doesn't cancel clarity. I miss the version of you I thought was real. I miss the safety I felt before things changed. I miss how easy it was before trust turned into doubt. But I don't miss the anxiety. I don't miss questioning where I stood. I don't miss feeling like I cared more. And that's the difference. If I wanted you back, I'd still be making excuses for you. I'd still be minimizing the hurt. I'd still be hoping you'd come back different. But I'm not. I just haven't rushed myself through the grief. Because when you trust someone deeply, losing them isn't just losing a person, it's losing a future you believed in. And that takes time to let go of. Some days I'm fine. Some days a memory hits out of nowhere, a song, a place, a random thought, and I let it pass. I don't fight it, I don't romanticize it, I don't pretend I'm over it faster than I am. Healing isn't about erasing what mattered, it's about accepting that something can matter and still not belong in your life anymore. So yeah, I miss you sometimes, but missing you doesn't mean I forgot why I walked away. Heartbreak taught me patience in a way nothing else ever did. Not patience with people, patience with myself. I learned that healing isn't something you rush just to prove you're okay. It's not about jumping into something new to replace what you lost. It's not about pretending it didn't hurt, because it did, and pretending only buries it deeper. I stopped forcing myself to move on other people's timelines. Stopped letting anyone tell me I should be over it by now. You don't rush the healing of something you trusted. You let it take the time it takes. Some days I feel strong, other days I feel fragile for no reason, and instead of judging that, I let it exist, because every emotion I avoid just shows up later heavier. Patience taught me this. You don't heal by replacing someone, you heal by understanding why losing them hurt the way it did. I trusted you. That wasn't small, that wasn't casual, so yeah. It takes time to rebuild the parts of me that believed safety could be permanent, but I'd rather heal slowly and honestly than rush into numbness and call it strength. I'm not behind, I'm not weak, I'm not stuck. I'm just respecting the fact that real trust doesn't break quietly, and it doesn't heal quickly either, and that's okay. Forgiveness didn't come in the way people talk about it. I didn't wake up one day suddenly okay with what you did. I didn't excuse it. I didn't rewrite the story to make it hurt less. What I had to forgive was myself, for trusting you, for believing your words, for opening my heart when I knew how badly it could go wrong. For a long time I was harder on myself than I ever was on you. I kept thinking I should have known better. I should have seen it coming. I should have protected myself more, but that thinking only added another layer of pain, because loving honestly was never the mistake. I didn't betray myself by trusting you. I honored who I am. I showed up real. I was present. I was vulnerable in a world that tells people not to be. And yeah, that made the heartbreak deeper. But it also means nothing about my love was fake. Forgiving myself meant accepting this. I didn't lose because I trusted. I lost because someone couldn't meet me at the level I was willing to give. And that's not something I need to punish myself for. So I stopped replaying the past, looking for a version of me that could have avoided the hurt. There wasn't one. Sometimes pain isn't a warning you missed. Sometimes it's just the cost of being genuine with the wrong person. And once I understood that, the shame started to loosen its grip. I could carry the memory without carrying the blame. Trusting you taught me something I never wanted to learn this way. That love can be real and still not last. That intentions can be genuine and still fall apart. That opening your heart doesn't guarantee someone will protect it, but it also taught me something else, something important. I learned that the way I love isn't the problem. I didn't lose myself by trusting you. I didn't fail because I believed in us. I didn't weaken myself by being honest. I showed up as who I am, and that matters. You broke my heart, but you didn't break my ability to love. You shook my trust, but you didn't erase my values. You hurt me, but you didn't define me. What you really did was show me the difference between someone who feels safe and someone who actually is, between words and consistency, between effort and presence, between connection and commitment. I won't forget you, not because I want you back, but because you were a chapter that taught me how deeply I can feel. And next time, I won't give that depth to someone who treats it casually. I'll trust again, just not blindly. I'll love again, just not at the cost of myself. You didn't ruin love for me. You clarified it. And even though the heartbreak hurt, I walk away knowing this. I was real. I was honest. I was brave enough to trust. And one day someone will meet that trust care it deserves. Until then, I carry the lesson, not the wound. That's where this ends. The worst combination you can be is a clingy person who also overthinks everything. because your heart and your mind are never on the same team. Your heart just wants closeness. It wants to be next to them, wants to hold them, hug them, feel their presence, fall asleep next to them, talk about nothing, do everything together. You don't want space, you want connection, but your mind never shuts up. Your mind is constantly running scenarios you never asked for. What if I'm doing too much? What if I'm annoying her? What if she needs space and I'm suffocating her? What if she hasn't texted back because she's tired of me? So you're stuck in this loop where you want to be close, but you're scared that wanting closeness is the very thing that might push her away. You want to text her, but you stare at the screen for 10 minutes before sending it. You want to call her, but you stop yourself because you don't want to seem needy. You want to ask her to hang out, but you tell yourself, nah, I already saw her yesterday. Don't do too much. And that's the part nobody talks about. Being clingy doesn't mean you're insecure. It doesn't mean you're weak. It usually just means you love deeply. But when you overthink on top of that, love starts to feel like walking on eggshells. Every little thing becomes something you analyze. Her tone, her response time, the way she said goodnight, the way she didn't say it the same way she did before. And your mind takes that tiny detail and turns it into a full-blown story about how you're about to lose her, so you pull back. Not because you want to, but because you're scared. You start acting less like yourself. You become quieter. You stop being affectionate the way you naturally are. You stop saying what you feel in the moment. And the crazy part is, the thing you're afraid of becoming too much slowly turns into you becoming too little. You convince yourself distance is safer than vulnerability, that silence is better than risking rejection, that holding back is better than being honest. But here's the truth you need to hear. If she chose you knowing how you are, then you being yourself is not the problem. She didn't accidentally end up with you. She saw you. She learned you. She felt your energy, and she still stayed. Every thought in your head is not a fact. Just because your mind says something doesn't make it true. Your mind is trying to protect you from pain, but sometimes it protects you so hard that it sabotages the very thing you care about. Love isn't about constantly shrinking yourself so someone doesn't leave. Real love isn't built on fear. If someone truly wants you, your affection won't scare them away. Your presence won't be a burden. Your desire to be close won't be too much, and if someone makes you feel like it is, then the problem was never your heart. You don't need to punish yourself for loving loudly. You don't need to silence your feelings just to seem cooler. You don't need to turn cold to protect yourself. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do as an overthinker is trust that not every good thing is about to disappear. Let yourself love the way you love. Let yourself be close. Let yourself feel. Because the right person won't see your clinginess as a flaw. They'll see it as care, as effort, as love. And the moment you stop fighting who you are, love stops feeling like a constant battle inside your head. It's always at night when everything hits at once. Your room gets quiet, your phone is dry, everyone's asleep, and suddenly your mind keeps replaying everything. You try to forget the laughs, the old texts, the what-ifs. You start missing people you swore you moved on from. You start feeling things you buried a long time ago. And it's not even about wanting them back. It's about wishing things just ended differently. Wishing you said more, or nothing at all. You ever lay there staring at the ceiling, feeling like the past is louder than the present? Like Aaron from Attack on Titan, haunted by the weight of what's already gone, but still pretending to move forward like it doesn't hurt. And the worst part? You can't talk to anyone about it because it's 2 a.m., and no one would get it anyway. But let me remind you this. Those memories, they're just echoes. They feel loud now, but they don't define you. You lived through them, and you're still here, and yeah, it hurts, but that means you cared. And caring, that's not weakness. That's proof you're human. So breathe. You won't feel like this forever. It always gets heavier at night. Not during the day when there's noise, distractions, people moving around. It's when everything finally shuts off. When your room is still, your phone hasn't buzzed in hours, and the world feels like it forgot about you. That's when your thoughts stop waiting their turn. Your mind starts pulling things out of storage you didn't ask for. Old conversations, screenshots you never deleted, moments you thought you were over until they show up uninvited. You tell yourself you've moved on, and maybe you have. Moving on doesn't mean forgetting. It just means learning how to live with what still lingers. You don't even want them back. That's the confusing part. You just wish things had ended cleaner, wish you explained yourself better, or maybe wish you stayed quiet instead of saying too much. You replay scenarios that can't be fixed, trying to rewrite endings that are already locked in. You lie there staring at the ceiling, feeling like the past is louder than the life you're living right now, like everything that mattered before is screaming for attention, while the present barely whispers. You wonder why it still affects you, why it still sneaks up on you when you thought you were stronger than this. And the worst part is the timing. Too late to text anyone, too late to explain how heavy your chest feels, too late to ask for reassurance without feeling dramatic. So you just sit with it, alone, letting it hit you in waves. It's like carrying something invisible all day, and at night you finally feel the full weight of it. You act fine, you move forward, but inside, there's still grief for versions of life that never happened, for people who changed, for moments that ended before you were ready. But here's what matters. Those memories aren't commands, they're echoes. They sound loud in the quiet, but they don't control where you're going. They don't erase the fact that you survived them. They don't cancel the future you haven't lived yet. If it hurts, that doesn't mean you're weak. It means you felt deeply. It means something mattered to you. And caring isn't something to be ashamed of even when it leaves scars. So breathe. Let the night pass. You won't always feel like this, and one day the quiet won't feel so heavy anymore. There's a certain kind of loneliness that only shows up at night. Not the kind that comes from being alone, but the kind that comes from remembering when you weren't, when someone used to be a constant, a voice you could reach for without thinking, a presence that made the quiet feel safe instead of heavy. At night you realize how much space they used to fill. Now that space just exists, unoccupied, untouched. You don't want to fill it with anyone else because it doesn't feel right yet. So you sit with it, even though it aches. Your mind starts drifting into the what-ifs. What if I had said things differently? What if I stayed quiet instead of reacting? What if I left sooner? What if I tried harder? You run through 100 alternate endings, knowing none of them change reality, but somehow your brain keeps trying anyway. That's the trap of nighttime thinking. It convinces you that if you replay the past enough times, you'll finally find peace in it. But peace doesn't live there anymore. All that's left are lessons and memories, and sometimes even those feel too loud. You start feeling behind in life, like everyone else is moving forward while you're stuck unpacking things you never asked to carry. You scroll through your phone, watching people live, love, laugh, post highlights, and you wonder why your heart feels so heavy when everyone else seems fine. But comparison at night is dangerous. You're seeing everyone else's daylight while you're stuck in your midnight, and that will always feel unfair. What you don't see is how many people are lying awake just like you, staring at ceilings, replaying moments, trying to make peace with things that didn't turn out the way they hoped. You're not broken for feeling this way. You're processing, you're grieving, you're letting go in real time, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. And slowly, very slowly, these nights will change. They won't disappear, but they won't crush you either. The memories will still come, but they won't steal your breath. The quiet will start feeling less empty and more calm. You won't always feel haunted by the past. One night, you'll realize you're thinking about tomorrow instead of yesterday. Eventually, you start noticing that the nights don't hit the same every time. Some nights still hurt, yeah, but other nights feel quieter in a different way. Not empty, just still. And that's when you realize something is slowly shifting inside you, even if you didn't notice it during the day. You begin to understand that missing someone doesn't always mean you want them back. Sometimes it just means they were part of a chapter that mattered, a chapter that shaped you. And endings like that don't disappear quietly. They linger, they echo, not because you're stuck, but because you lived it fully. At night, you start reflecting less on them and more on yourself, on how much you've changed since then, on how certain things you tolerated before you'd never accept now, on how some versions of you had to break so newer ones could exist. And that realization is bittersweet, because growth often comes wrapped in loss. You realize that the pain isn't pointless. It taught you boundaries. It taught you what effort looks like when it's real. It taught you how to spot the difference between attention and intention. Those lessons didn't come cheap. They weren't wasted either. There are still moments when the past creeps in unannounced, and a random thought tightens your chest for a second. But now, you don't spiral the way you used to. You acknowledge it, let it pass. You don't punish yourself for remembering. You don't shame yourself for caring, and that's progress. You stop asking, why did this happen to me? You start asking, what did this teach me? And that question changes everything. The nights don't feel like battles anymore. They feel like checkpoints. Moments where you check in with yourself, where you realize how far you've come even if you still have a long way to go. And one day, you'll lie in bed and realize your thoughts aren't pulling you backward anymore. They're just passing through. And for the first time in a while, the quiet won't feel heavy. It'll feel earned. There's a point where the night stops feeling like an enemy and starts feeling like a mirror. Not one that judges you, but one that shows you who you've become. You're not the same person you were back then. You don't react the same. You don't attach the same. You don't give pieces of yourself away as easily. And while part of you misses that softness, another part of you is grateful. You you learned how to protect it, you start realizing that healing isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up all at once. It happens in quiet moments like this, when you choose not to spiral, when you choose not to reach out, when you choose to sit with your feelings instead of running from them. Those small decisions stack up, even if it doesn't feel like it yet. Some nights you'll still feel that ache, that sense of loss, but it won't feel like panic anymore. It'll feel like a reminder that you loved something real, reminder that you're capable of depth. And instead of breaking you, that thought will start to ground you. You'll also start noticing how much space you've created. Space in your mind, space in your heart, space in your life. At first, that space felt terrifying, like something was missing. Now it starts to feel like potential, like room for something healthier, something calmer, something that doesn't require you to lose sleep just to feel secure. You begin trusting yourself again, trusting that you can handle whatever comes next, trusting that even if something ends, you won't fall apart the way you once did. You've already proven that to yourself night after night just by getting through. And that's the part people don't see. They don't see the growth that happens in silence. They don't see the strength it takes to sit with your thoughts and still choose to move forward. But you know, and that's enough. The night won't always feel like this. One day it'll just be night. No wait, no replay, just rest. At some point, you stop fighting the memories when they show up. You don't chase them, but you don't shove them away either. You let them pass through like background noise instead of letting them take over the whole room. That's when you realize you're not healing by force anymore. You're healing by acceptance. You accept that some nights will still feel heavier than others, that certain dates, certain places, certain songs will still stir something inside you. But now, those moments don't define your entire mood. Don't steal the whole night. They're just moments, and moments pass. You also start understanding that the past isn't trying to pull you back, just reminding you that you lived, that you felt something real, that you weren't numb, and there's something powerful about that, because numbness is easy. Feeling is brave. You stop asking yourself if you'll ever fully move on. That question slowly loses importance. Instead, you start asking, am I okay right now? And most nights, the answer becomes yes. Not perfect, not amazing, but okay. And that's enough. You notice how your thoughts begin drifting toward things ahead of you. Plans, goals, small things you're looking forward to. First, it surprises you. Like, when did my mind start doing this? But that's how healing works. It sneaks up on you, one quiet night at a time. And even when the past visits, it doesn't feel like a threat anymore. It feels like a chapter you've already read, one that mattered, one that changed you, not one you need to reread every night to understand. You're learning how to rest without carrying everything with you, how to sleep without replaying endings, how to let the present exist without being overshadowed by what's already gone, and that's progress. Whether you recognize it yet or not, there's a quiet confidence that starts forming in you after all those nights. It doesn't come from feeling happy all the time. It comes from knowing you can sit with discomfort and still be okay. You've already faced the worst parts of your thoughts in the dark, and they didn't destroy you. That realization changes how you move through life. You stop being afraid of the quiet. Silence doesn't feel like abandonment anymore. It feels neutral, sometimes even comforting. You don't need constant noise or validation to feel grounded. You've learned how to be alone without feeling lonely. And that's something a lot of people never figure out. You also become more honest with yourself about what you want, about what you won't tolerate again, about the kind of connections you deserve. The nights taught you that chasing what's gone only keeps you stuck, and protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's necessary. And when you think back on the people you missed, the pain isn't as sharp. There's still tenderness there, but it's softer now, less like a wound and more like a scar. Proof that something happened, but also proof that it healed. You start trusting that life doesn't end with one loss, that the world doesn't stop because something did. You realize that endings don't erase everything that came before them, and they don't block everything that comes after. They just redirect you, and one night, without any dramatic moment, you'll notice something small but important. You're tired in a normal way, not emotionally drained, not overwhelmed, just ready to rest. And as you close your eyes, you won't feel haunted, you'll feel present. And then one night, it doesn't hurt anymore. Not in the way it used to. You still remember, but the memories don't grip your chest. They don't steal your breath. They don't pull you backwards. They just exist quietly like old photographs stored away instead of wounds left open. You realize you didn't get over it all at once. You outgrew it slowly, night by night, thought by thought. You kept living even when it was hard. You kept choosing yourself even when part of you wanted to stay stuck in what was familiar. And without noticing, you built something stronger than closure. You built resilience. The nights that once felt unbearable became lessons. They taught you how to sit with yourself, how to listen instead of run, how to accept endings without needing them to make sense. And because of that, you're not afraid of feeling anymore. You're not afraid of caring. You're not afraid of loving again when the time is right. You understand now that pain doesn't mean you failed. It means you were present. It means you opened your heart in a world that doesn't always know how to hold it gently. And that's not something to regret. That's something to respect. Past no longer defines you. It informs you. It shaped you, but it doesn't own you. You carry it with wisdom now, not weight. In the quiet you once feared, it's become peace. So if tonight feels heavy, remember this. You won't always feel like this. You are moving forward even when it doesn't feel obvious. And one day you'll look back at these nights and realize they didn't break you. They built you. Staying doesn't feel right anymore, but the idea of never speaking again feels just as painful. And that's the part that messes with your head the most. You're stuck between two choices that both hurt, and no one really prepares you for that kind of decision. When you love someone deeply, your heart doesn't just switch off because your mind finally sees the truth. It lags behind, it holds on to memories, routines, and the version of that person who once made you feel safe. But loving someone doesn't mean you're meant to stay in a situation that's draining you. Sometimes your body already knows what your heart hasn't accepted yet. You feel tense all the time. You feel smaller. You feel tired in ways sleep can't fix. And yet you keep telling yourself to wait, to push through, to hold on just a little longer, not because things are getting better, but because letting go feels like losing a part of yourself. Here's the hard truth. Your heart isn't built to make logical decisions. It moves on emotion, attachment, and hope. That's why you can miss someone who hurt you. That's why you can crave a connection that's slowly breaking you down. And in moments like this, you can't let your emotions be the only thing guiding you. You have to choose clarity over comfort. Walking away doesn't mean the love wasn't real. It means you finally respected yourself enough to stop accepting pain as the price for connection. You're not weak for leaving. You're strong for recognizing that love shouldn't feel like constant survival. It shouldn't hurt every day. It shouldn't cost you your peace. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do isn't staying or fixing or waiting. Sometimes it's choosing yourself, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. She said she needed space, and I believed her, because when someone says that, you don't question it, you respect it. You tell yourself they're overwhelmed, they're figuring things out, they just need time to clear their head. So I gave her that. I didn't chase, I didn't pressure her, I didn't try to force conversations that she clearly wasn't ready to have. I stepped back, because in my head, that's what you do when you care about someone. You don't make things harder for them, you give them room. But what I didn't realize at the time was this: she didn't need space, she just didn't want me. At first I handled it the way you're supposed to. I gave her distance, I stopped texting first. I stopped trying to keep conversations alive. I let the silence sit, even when it didn't feel right. Because I thought space meant something temporary, like a pause, like something we would come back from. But the silence started stretching longer than it should have. And instead of clarity, it just created confusion. Because when someone genuinely needs space, they don't disappear without direction. They don't leave you guessing. They don't make you feel like you're suddenly a stranger. But that's exactly how it started to feel. And deep down, something didn't sit right. Not because I didn't trust her, but because the energy didn't match what she said. Then little things started adding up. Things I didn't notice right away. But once I did, I couldn't ignore them. She wasn't just taking space, she was still active, still talking, still posting, still present, just not with me. And that's when the confusion turned into something else, clarity, because space doesn't mean disappearing from one person while still being available for everything else. Space doesn't look like selective silence, and that's when it hit me. She didn't need space from everything, she needed space from me. That realization is different, because now it's not about understanding, it's about acceptance. You start replaying everything, trying to figure out when it changed, when her energy shifted, when the connection stopped being something she wanted to maintain. Because if it was really about space, she would have come back, she would have explained, she would have made it clear where things stood, but she didn't. She just faded and let the silence say what she didn't want to say directly. And the truth is, space is one of the easiest ways to leave without saying you're leaving. It sounds soft, it sounds understandable, it doesn't create conflict, but sometimes it's just distance in disguise, a way to slowly step out without having to take responsibility for ending it. And I didn't want to see it like that at first, because believing her felt easier than accepting what was actually happening. Because if I accepted it, then I had to admit something I wasn't ready for, that I wasn't someone she was trying to hold on to. I was someone she was slowly letting go of. And that's a different kind of pain, because it's quiet. There's no argument, no clear ending, just distance that keeps growing until you finally understand what it means. For a while I kept thinking she'd come back, that once she had her space, things would go back to how they were, because when something feels real, you don't expect it to end like that. You expect a conversation, closure, something, but sometimes the absence is the answer. And that's what I had to learn the hard way. And once I stopped waiting, everything started making more sense, because I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't questioning where I stood. I wasn't trying to interpret silence. I just saw it for what it was. She didn't need time. She made a decision, just not one she wanted to say out loud. And yeah, that hurts. Not just because she left, but because of how she did it. Because honesty would have been easier to respect, clarity would have been easier to accept, but instead, I was left trying to understand something that was never explained, and that kind of ending stays with you for a while, so yeah. She said she needed space, but what she really needed was distance from me, and now I understand something clearly. The right person doesn't disappear to figure out if they want you. They don't leave you in silence, they don't make you question everything. They communicate, they stay, they choose. So next time, I won't confuse silence with patience. I won't wait around for someone who already stepped away, because when someone truly wants you, they don't need space to decide it. She leaves your message unopened, but somehow she has time to watch every story you post, every picture, every video, and you sit there trying to make sense of it, wondering how someone can be so present and so distant at the same time. The truth is uncomfortable, but it's simple. If someone truly cared, replying wouldn't feel like a chore. It wouldn't be something they get around to when it's convenient. It would be instinct. When someone wants you, communication isn't complicated. You wouldn't be questioning their intentions or reading between the lines. You wouldn't be checking timestamps or replaying conversations in your head. If you mattered the way you hope you do, responding to you wouldn't be optional. And deep down you already know that. What makes it harder is that if the roles were reversed, things would look very different. If you were the one leaving her waiting while watching her stories, it wouldn't sit right with her, especially if you were someone she genuinely cared about. The difference is effort. When someone values you, they don't leave you guessing. They don't leave you hanging while still keeping tabs on your life. And yes, she knows what she's doing. It's not accidental, it's not confusion, it's a choice. And the hardest part is that you see it too, but you're choosing to ignore it. You hold on to the sweet words she said, the late night conversations, the promises that made you feel important, but words lose their meaning when actions consistently tell a different story. You keep hoping that maybe things will change, that maybe she'll wake up and realize what she has. But hoping doesn't change patterns. If her behavior keeps showing you where you stand, believe it. Stop clinging to the version of her that only exists in your head. Stop making excuses for someone who wouldn't make the same ones for you, because the reality is you would never do this to someone you truly liked. You respond because you care. You show up because they matter to you. You don't make them wait or question their worth, and that difference should tell you everything you need to know. Stop fighting for attention that should be freely given. Stop investing energy into a connection that only exists on your side. You shouldn't have to convince someone to treat you like you matter. If they wanted to, they would. And if they don't, it's time to step back and choose yourself instead. If you ever find yourself feeling insecure about the way you look or the way you exist in this world, I want you to pause for a second and really think about this. You are the result of thousands of generations of people who chose love. People who met, connected, cared for each other, and decided to keep going. Every single one of them led to you being here right now. And that alone is something incredibly powerful. I know this idea gets mentioned a lot, but that doesn't make it any less meaningful. Sometimes the most repeated truths are the ones we forget the fastest. You didn't just appear randomly. Your existence is layered with history, emotion, resilience, and connection. Every feature you have, every trait you carry, every part of you is proof that love love existed long before you did. You are a beautiful person, not just on the outside, but in the way you carry yourself, the way you think, the way you feel deeply. You are a beautiful soul, and whether you believe it or not right now, people are drawn to you. That's not wishful thinking. That's real. The energy you bring, the presence you have, the way you make others feel seen or understood, those things matter more than you realize. It's easy to let outside voices mess with your perception of yourself. A comment, a comparison, a moment of rejection can make you forget everything good about who you are. But anyone who makes you feel small, unworthy, or unlovable is not someone you should be listening to. Their words do not define you. Their inability to see your value does not take it away. You don't need to look like anyone else. You don't need to act like anyone else. You don't need to change yourself to be deserving of love or appreciation. You already are exactly as you are. The right people will see that without you having to prove anything. Let this video be a reminder today. A quiet one, not a loud or overwhelming one. Just a gentle reminder that you matter, that you are enough, and that your existence is not accidental. Take a moment to breathe this in. Let it sit with you. Let it soften the way you talk to yourself for the rest of the day. You are here because love brought you here, and that alone makes you something special. Leave her alone, bro. Not because you stopped caring, but because you cared longer than you should have. You gave her chances when she gave you confusion. You gave her patience when she gave you mixed signals. You showed up consistently while she showed up only when it was convenient. And the hardest part to admit isn't that she didn't choose you, it's that you kept choosing her even when she made it clear you weren't a priority. You stayed solid, you stayed available, you stayed hoping one day she'd wake up and finally see you the way you saw her, hoping one day she'd match your effort, your energy, your care, but she didn't, not because you weren't enough, but because she was comfortable. She liked knowing you were there, she liked the attention, the validation, the way you made her feel wanted, but she never wanted to give that same certainty back. You weren't her first choice, you were her safety net, her backup plan, her just in case. And staying in that position slowly destroys you. You start questioning yourself, start wondering if you're asking for too much, start lowering your standards just to keep her around. You tell yourself, maybe she's just busy, maybe she's scared, maybe if I'm more patient she'll change. But deep down you know the truth. Someone who truly wants you won't make you feel like you're fighting for their attention. They won't leave you guessing where you stand. They won't only show up when it benefits them, so leave her alone, not out of anger, not out of ego, not to prove a point. Leave her alone out of respect for yourself, because the moment you stop texting first, stop checking her stories, stop replaying conversations in your head, stop making excuses for her absence, you'll feel it, that quiet, that peace, and it'll feel unfamiliar at first because you've been living in chaos for so long you forgot what calm feels like. But that peace is real. It's the peace of no longer forcing something that was never meant to be mutual. The peace of choosing yourself after constantly choosing someone who wouldn't choose you back. She had her chance, she saw your heart, she saw your effort, she saw what you were willing to give, and if she didn't value you then, don't give her another opportunity to waste you again, because the right person won't need convincing. And the moment you truly let her go, you make room for someone who won't treat your love like an option. Choose yourself now. Walking away doesn't feel strong at first. It feels like withdrawal, like your chest is empty and heavy at the same time, like you're doing the one thing your heart keeps begging you not to do, because even when someone isn't good for you, your attachment doesn't just shut off. You still think about her when your phone lights up, still wonder if she noticed your silence, still catch yourself hoping she'll reach out just so you can feel chosen one last time. That's the part nobody talks about. Leaving someone you loved feels like betraying your own feelings. You start asking yourself if you gave up too soon, if maybe this time would have been different, if maybe you should have tried just a little harder. But here's the truth you keep avoiding. You already tried harder than she ever did. You weren't asking for too much. You were asking the wrong person. Someone who truly values you won't require you to disappear to be noticed. They won't need distance to realize your worth. They won't only miss you once you finally stop showing up. And yeah, she might notice now. She might text later. She might suddenly act interested once she feels you slipping away. But don't confuse curiosity with commitment. People hate losing access. They hate losing control. They hate realizing the person they took for granted finally chose themselves. That doesn't mean she changed, just means she felt the shift. And if you go back now, you'll teach her the same lesson again, that she can give you the bare minimum and still keep you around. Leaving is not about punishing her, it's about protecting you. It's about choosing sleep over stress, peace over potential, consistency over confusion. You're not cold for walking away, you're not heartless for setting a boundary, you're not weak for needing more than uncertainty, you're human, and you deserve a love that doesn't make you feel like you're slowly disappearing just to keep someone comfortable. Walking away hurts, but staying where you're not valued hurts longer, and one day, when the noise finally fades, you'll realize you didn't lose her. You found yourself again. Leaving her alone doesn't mean the feelings disappear. It means you finally stop letting those feelings control you. Because the hardest part isn't cutting contact. It's sitting with the silence afterward. It's waking up and realizing there's no good morning text to send, no story to check, no excuse to reach out, just to see how she's doing. Your brain will try to trick you. It'll replay the good moments, the laughs, the nights where it felt real. It'll tell you that maybe you imagined the distance, maybe you were asking for too much, maybe if you just explained yourself better she would have stayed, but you already explained yourself through effort, through patience, through showing up when it wasn't convenient. Love doesn't need translation. If she wanted to choose you, she wouldn't have kept you guessing. She wouldn't have made you feel like your presence was optional. She wouldn't have treated your consistency like something she could always come back to later. You weren't confusing. You were clear. She just wasn't committed. And yeah, it hurts realizing that the person you'd fight for wouldn't even fight for clarity with you. That's when you have to stop romanticizing the potential and start respecting the reality. Reality is this: you were giving girlfriend level energy to someone who kept you at arm's length. You were loyal to someone who wasn't sure she wanted you at all. Walking away feels unnatural because you're not used to choosing yourself first. You're used to being patient, understanding, giving people time to figure you out while you slowly lose pieces of yourself in the process. But love isn't supposed to cost you your peace. The moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop explaining, the moment you stop waiting for her to finally get it, you reclaim your power. And that scares people who benefited from you staying small. You didn't lose her. You outgrew the version of yourself that was willing to accept half love, and this is only the beginning. And the truth you don't want to admit yet is that leaving her alone feels like you're losing something. Not because she was right for you, but because she became familiar. You got used to waiting, used to hoping, used to reading into crumbs like they were signs. You trained your nervous system to find comfort in inconsistency. So when you finally step back, your body panics before your mind understands. You'll feel restless. You'll feel tempted to break your own boundary. You'll pick up your phone for no reason, scroll, close the app, open it again, just to see if maybe this time she noticed you're gone. And that urge doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. It means you're detoxing from someone who kept you emotionally hungry. Because when someone keeps you half-fed, you start confusing starvation with love. You tell yourself, maybe she just didn't know how much I cared. Maybe if I stayed a little longer, maybe I gave up too soon. But you didn't leave because you stopped caring. You left because you cared too much to keep abandoning yourself. You stayed long enough to know the pattern, the delayed replies, the empty apologies, the promises that never turned into action. You stayed long enough to realize that if someone wanted to show up for you, you wouldn't have to convince them. And deep down, you know that. That's why the silence hits different now. It's not empty, it's honest. For the first time, you're not waiting for her mood to decide your worth. You're not shrinking yourself to stay chosen. You're not wondering if today's the day she finally treats you right. And yeah, it hurts. Because healing doesn't feel peaceful at first. It feels lonely. But loneliness with self-respect will always be quieter than love that keeps you anxious. One day you'll look back and realize leaving her alone was the moment everything started changing. Not because she came back, but because you finally came back to yourself. At some point, you have to ask yourself a hard question. How long are you willing to wait for someone to finally treat you right? Not because they're evil, not because they're a bad person, but because they keep showing you over and over that you're not a priority. And the scary part, you already know the answer. You've known it for a while. You just didn't want to accept it. Because accepting it means admitting that the future you imagined with them was built more on hope than reality. You weren't in love with what was happening. You were in love with what could have happened if they just showed up the way you needed. So you stayed, you waited, you overextended yourself, you gave patience to someone who gave you uncertainty, you gave loyalty to someone who gave you mixed signals, you gave understanding to someone who never tried to understand you, and every time they pulled away, you blamed yourself. Maybe I'm asking for too much, maybe I'm being dramatic, maybe this is just how love is, but love is not confusion. Love is not constantly guessing where you stand. Love is not feeling anxious every time your phone lights up or doesn't. Love doesn't make you feel replaceable. What really kept you stuck wasn't them. It was the version of you that believed walking away meant you failed, but leaving doesn't mean you lost. It means you finally stopped losing yourself, because staying with someone who makes you feel unwanted slowly erodes your confidence in ways you don't notice at first. You stop speaking up. You stop expecting effort. You start accepting bare minimum behavior and calling it maturity. You start shrinking your needs so you don't scare them away, and that's when love stops being love and starts becoming survival. You don't need to be less to be loved. You don't need to be quieter, cooler, easier, more convenient. The right person won't feel overwhelmed by your care. They won't feel annoyed by your presence. They won't treat your love like something disposable. They'll meet you where you are instead of making you feel like you're always asking for too much. And yeah, choosing yourself feels lonely at first because you're breaking a habit. You're breaking the habit of chasing, the habit of waiting, the habit of hoping someone will finally choose you. But peace doesn't arrive loud. It arrives quietly. In the moments you stop checking your phone, stop explaining yourself, stop wondering why you weren't enough, one day you'll realize you don't miss them. You miss who you were before you started doubting your worth, and that version of you, they're still there. You didn't lose love, you protected it. You didn't walk away from something good. You walked away from something that was slowly breaking you. And that's not weakness, that's growth. And what nobody tells you is that once you finally stop chasing them, that's when everything gets quiet. Not empty quiet, honest quiet. No more checking your phone every 5 minutes. No more replaying conversations in your head, wondering if you said the wrong thing. No more anxiety before hitting send. No more hoping today will be the day they suddenly care more. At first it feels uncomfortable because chaos became familiar, confusion felt normal, and peace feels strange when you're not used to it. You might even miss them for the wrong reasons. Not because they treated you well, but because your nervous system got addicted to inconsistency. You got used to highs and lows, to feeling chosen one day and invisible the next, to chasing validation instead of receiving love. That kind of pattern messes with your head. It makes you mistake emotional stress for passion. It makes stability feel boring and uncertainty feel exciting. But real love doesn't keep you guessing. It doesn't disappear when things get inconvenient. It doesn't require you to earn basic respect. Real love feels safe. Not dull, not dramatic, safe. And when you finally step away, you start noticing things you ignored before. How drained you were, how much energy you poured into someone who barely poured back, how often you made excuses for behavior that hurt you. You start realizing how much love you actually have to give, how deeply you care, how loyal you are when you choose someone. And instead of feeling ashamed of that, you begin to see it as strength, because one day, someone will meet that energy without hesitation. They won't flinch when you care deeply. They won't pull away when things get real. They won't make you feel like you're asking for too much just by being yourself. They'll choose you without you having to beg. They'll show up without being reminded. They'll make you feel wanted without confusion. And when that happens, you'll look back at the version of you who stayed too long, and you won't feel regret. You'll feel proud that you learned, proud that you walked away, proud that you chose peace over potential, because letting go wasn't the end of your story. It was the moment you finally made space for something better. At some point, you have to accept a hard truth. If they wanted to show up, they would have. If they cared the way you cared, you wouldn't be confused. You wouldn't be questioning where you stand. You wouldn't be asking strangers for advice just to understand their silence. Love isn't subtle. Effort isn't hidden. Interest doesn't need decoding. When someone wants you in their life, they make space, not excuses, not delays, not half responses at midnight when they're bored. And the reason it hurts so much to accept this is because you invested emotionally before you were ever chosen properly. You imagined futures, you pictured moments that never actually happened. You fell in love with potential instead of reality. That's not weakness, that's hope. But hope becomes dangerous when it keeps you stuck, when it convinces you to stay loyal to someone who treats you like an option, when it makes you believe that patience will eventually turn into priority. It won't. People don't suddenly wake up and value you after months of showing you they don't. They don't magically learn how to love you correctly once they realize you'll stay no matter what. If anything, they learn they don't have to try. And that's why walking away feels so heavy, because you're not just letting go of them. You're letting go of the version of the future you created in your head. You're grieving something that never fully existed. That kind of loss is real. You'll miss the idea of them more than the person. You'll miss what you hoped they'd become, not what they actually showed you. And that's okay. Healing doesn't mean pretending it didn't matter. It means being honest about why it did and still choosing yourself anyway. You don't need closure from someone who couldn't communicate. You don't need answers from someone who avoided accountability. Their behavior already told you everything. Silence is an answer. Distance is a decision. Inconsistency is a choice. And once you stop chasing clarity from people who benefit from your confusion, you start reclaiming your power. You stop over-explaining. You stop proving your worth. You stop shrinking yourself to fit someone else's comfort. You realize you were never asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong person. And when that finally sinks in, you don't become bitter, you become selective. You start protecting your heart the same way you used to give it away. You start choosing peace over chaos, consistency over excitement, respect over attachment. Let them go. go, not because they're a bad person, but because they weren't your person. And the moment you truly accept that is the moment your life starts opening up in ways you couldn't see before. And the craziest part is, once you stop chasing them, you start noticing how quiet it gets. Not the painful kind of quiet, but the kind where your nervous system finally gets a break. No more checking your phone every 5 minutes. No more rereading old messages trying to find meaning. No more wondering if today will be the day they suddenly choose you. You realize how much energy you were burning just trying to feel secure with someone who never offered stability. That constant anxiety, that wasn't love. That was your intuition fighting against your attachment. Real love doesn't leave you guessing. It doesn't make you feel disposable. It doesn't require you to abandon yourself just to stay connected. And yeah, letting go hurts at first. There's withdrawal. There's nights where you want to reach out, where your fingers hover over their name, where you almost convince yourself to send that one last message. But every time you don't, you build a little more self-respect. You start realizing how much of yourself you gave away to someone who never protected your heart the way you protected theirs. You weren't asking for perfection. You were asking for presence. You were asking for effort. You were asking to matter. And one day someone will meet you where you are without you having to beg, explain, or wait. They won't make you feel like you're too much. They won't make you feel like you're replaceable. They won't make you question your value in moments of silence. But you don't get to that person if you keep clinging to the ones who treat you like an option. So let this be the moment you choose differently. Not out of bitterness, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. Because the version of you that keeps chasing people who don't choose you deserves rest. And the version of you that finally walks away is the one that makes room for something real. A lot of people don't talk about how hard it is to walk away from someone you still care about, not because you don't see the red flags, but because you remember the good moments too clearly. You remember who they were in the beginning, the version of them that felt safe, the version that made you feel wanted, chosen, important, and you keep hoping that version will come back. That's what keeps you stuck. Not love, hope. Hope that if you wait a little longer, if you explain yourself one more time, if you give just a bit more patience, they'll finally show up the way you need them to. But hope can be dangerous when it's attached to someone who keeps proving they're not willing or ready to meet you halfway. Because every time you ignore their actions and listen to their potential instead, you teach yourself that your needs are negotiable. You start accepting inconsistency as normal, mixed signals as effort, bare minimum as love, and slowly, you stop recognizing yourself. You become quieter, more anxious, more forgiving than you should be. You start blaming yourself for their lack of effort. Maybe I asked for too much. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe this is just how relationships are. But deep down, you know the truth. Love isn't supposed to feel like constant confusion. It isn't supposed to drain you more than it fills you. And it definitely isn't supposed to make you feel alone while you're still technically with someone. That's when you have to be honest with yourself. Not about how much you love them, but about how much staying is costing you. Because loving someone shouldn't mean losing yourself in the process. And what hurts the most is realizing that you were willing to do the hard things for someone who wouldn't even do the simple ones. You showed consistency, they showed convenience, you communicated your feelings, they avoided uncomfortable conversations, you stayed when things got messy, they pulled away the moment effort was required, and yet you still questioned yourself, you still wondered if you were the problem, if you were asking for too much, if you were expecting love the wrong way. But love isn't complicated like that. People make time for what matters to them. They protect what they value. They don't leave you guessing where you stand. The truth is, some people don't lose you because they don't care. They lose you because they never learned how to care properly. They want connection without responsibility, attention without commitment, love without effort. And you can't teach someone how to show up if they don't want to. That's why leaving isn't weakness. It's self-respect finally getting louder than attachment. It's choosing peace over potential, reality over hope, self-worth over familiar pain. Walking away doesn't mean what you felt wasn't real. It means you finally decided that you are real too. And one day you'll look back and realize that the moment you stopped chasing was the moment your life got quieter, lighter, clearer. Because the right person won't make you feel like love is something you have to earn. They'll choose you without being convinced. You stayed longer than you should have because you believed in what could be, not what actually was. You kept replaying the good moments, convincing yourself they meant more than the silence, the distance, the excuses. You ignored the way your chest felt heavy every time you waited for a reply. You ignored how drained you felt after giving everything and receiving the bare minimum. That wasn't love making you tired. That was imbalance. Real love doesn't doesn't leave you anxious. It doesn't make you feel disposable. It doesn't turn your patience into pain. And the hardest truth to accept is that some people are comfortable letting you overextend as long as it benefits them. They don't stop you. They don't reassure you. They just take until one day you finally stop giving. And when you do, they feel it. Not because they miss you, but because they miss the access. That's when they reach out. That's when they suddenly care. That's when confusion turns into regret. But by then, you've already changed. You're no longer begging to be chosen. You're no longer shrinking to fit someone else's emotional limits. You're choosing yourself the way you always wished they would choose you. And that choice, that's where your healing actually starts. At some point, you stop missing them and start missing who you were before you questioned your worth for them, before you reread messages trying to find meaning that wasn't there, before you blamed yourself for someone else's lack of effort. That's when it really hits you. You didn't lose them. You lost yourself trying to keep them. You became quieter. You thought twice before speaking. You downplayed your needs so you wouldn't seem like too much. And the crazy part is they never asked you to do that. You did it because you cared. You did it because you were afraid that being fully you would push them away. But love that only survives when you make yourself smaller was never meant to last. Real love doesn't need you to perform. It doesn't need you to chase. It doesn't make you feel replaceable the moment you stop overgiving. And once you understand that, you stop romanticizing the bare minimum. You stop calling inconsistency mystery. You stop calling neglect space. You stop calling emotional distance busy. You see it for what it really was. Someone enjoying your presence without respecting your heart. That realization hurts, but it also frees you, because now you know you're not asking for too much. You were just asking the wrong person. And the next time someone comes along, you won't beg them to stay. You'll watch how they show up. You'll notice how they choose you without being asked. And if they don't, you'll walk away sooner. Not because you don't care, but because you finally do. And there comes a point where the pain shifts. It's no longer about missing them. It's about realizing how much of yourself you gave away just to keep them comfortable. You start remembering moments where you stayed quiet even though something hurt. Moments where you said, it's fine, when it really wasn't. Moments where you lowered your standards because you didn't want to seem demanding. You replay conversations in your head and notice how often you explained yourself, how often you justified their behavior, how often you made excuses for why they couldn't show up the way you needed, and that's when it finally clicks. You were never asking for too much. You were asking the wrong person to do what they were never willing to do. You weren't needy. You were neglected. You weren't overthinking. You were being given mixed signals. You weren't insecure. You were emotionally starved. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. You realize how exhausting it was to love someone who only showed up halfway, how draining it was to constantly wonder where you stood with them, how heavy it felt to care more than you were cared for. That kind of love doesn't make you feel safe. It keeps you anxious. It keeps you waiting. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of hoping they'll change while slowly losing yourself. And the saddest part, they benefited from your patience, from your loyalty, from your willingness to stay even when it hurt. You don't get rewarded for suffering in silence. You don't get love by proving how much pain you can tolerate. Love is supposed to feel steady. It's supposed to feel mutual. It's supposed to feel like effort is being met with effort, not excuses. So choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. It's deciding that you won't keep pouring into someone who leaves you empty. It's realizing that peace feels better than chasing potential that never becomes real. And when you finally choose yourself, you don't become cold. You become clear. Clear about what you deserve. Clear about what you won't accept again. Clear about the fact that the right person won't make you question your value in the first place. After you choose yourself, something strange happens. The noise quiets down. Your phone feels lighter. Chest doesn't feel so tight all the time. You stop waking up with that anxious feeling, wondering if today will be the day they finally show up for you or disappoint you again. You stop checking your phone every 5 minutes, stop rereading old messages, stop trying to decode tone, timing, silence, because you finally understand that love was never supposed to feel like a puzzle, and that's when you realize how much energy you were wasting on someone who was unsure about you while you were sure about them. You were loving from a place of hope. They were loving from a place of convenience. You wanted depth. They wanted access. You wanted consistency. They wanted control without responsibility. And once you step back, you see how one-sided it really was. You notice how you were always the one adjusting, always the one compromising, always the one reaching out first, always the one trying to keep things alive. That's not love. That's survival mode. Real love doesn't make you feel disposable. Doesn't make you feel like you're asking for too much just for wanting basic respect. And here's the hardest truth to accept. Potential means nothing without effort. You weren't in love with who they were. You You were in love with who they could be, the version of them that only existed in your head. But you can't build a future with someone's maybe. You can't heal by holding on to what ifs. So you stop romanticizing the bare minimum. You stop giving credit for intentions that never turn into action. And slowly, your standards rise back up to where they were always meant to be. You start asking better questions. You start walking away sooner. You stop explaining your worth to people who never planned to value it. And the craziest part, the moment you stop settling, you realize how much you were settling before. You realize you don't miss them. You miss the version of yourself that believed love had to hurt to be real, but it doesn't. Love can be calm. Love can be safe. Love can feel like rest instead of stress. And once you experience that, you'll never beg for confusion again. Leaving her alone doesn't mean you stop caring overnight. Doesn't mean you suddenly forget her laugh, her voice, the way she made things feel alive for a moment. It means you finally accept the truth you've been avoiding. That love without reciprocity will slowly drain you until there's nothing left. You were pouring into someone who never learned how to pour back. And no matter how patient you were, no matter how consistent you stayed, you can't teach someone to value you if they don't want to. You kept telling yourself, maybe she's just going through something. You made excuses for the missed calls, the late replies, the emotional distance. You told yourself love was supposed to be patient, that real men stay, that walking away meant you didn't try hard enough. But here's the part nobody talks about. There's a difference between being patient and being neglected. There's a difference between loyalty and self-abandonment. And you cross that line without even realizing it. Every time you texted first, every time you ignored your own gut, every time you accepted the bare minimum just to keep her close, you taught yourself that your needs came second. You shrank yourself to fit into a space she barely made room for. And that does something to you. It makes you question your worth. It makes you wonder why loving someone feels like punishment. It makes you think something is wrong with you. And the truth is, you were just loving the wrong person. Leaving her alone is the first time you choose yourself. It's the first time you stop begging for effort and start demanding peace. It's realizing that love isn't supposed to feel like anxiety, confusion, or constant doubt. The right person won't make you question where you stand. They won't make you compete with silence. They won't make you feel disposable. You don't need closure from her. You don't need one last conversation. Her actions already told you everything you needed to know. And as hard as it is, walking away now is what protects the part of you that still believes in real love. Part of you that deserves consistency, reassurance, and effort without having to ask. This isn't about her anymore. It's about you learning that choosing peace is not weakness, it's growth. What hurts the most isn't even losing her. It's realizing how long you stayed when your heart was begging you to leave. It's remembering all the moments you felt small but ignored it because loving her felt bigger than loving yourself. You didn't stay because you were weak. You stayed because you hoped, because you saw potential, because you believed that if you loved hard enough, showed up enough, proved yourself enough, things would change. But love doesn't work like that. You can't love someone into choosing you. You can't be consistent enough to make someone consistent back. You can't sacrifice your peace forever and call it love. At some point, staying becomes more painful than leaving, and that's where you are now. You're gonna have nights where you almost text her, nights where your fingers hover over her name, where your mind starts replaying the good memories and conveniently forgets the pain. You'll miss the comfort of what was familiar, even if it wasn't healthy. That doesn't mean you made the wrong choice. It means you're human. Healing doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop going back. And slowly, without even realizing it, things will start to change. You'll wake up one day and notice your chest doesn't feel as heavy. You won't check your phone as much. Her name won't be the first thing on your mind when something good or bad happens. You'll start laughing again. Not forced, not distracted, but real. You'll start feeling like yourself again. That's when you'll understand why it had to end. Not because she was evil, not because you were unlovable, but because she wasn't capable of meeting you where you stood. And staying would have cost you parts of yourself you can't afford to lose. One day, someone will choose you without hesitation, without confusion, without making you question your worth. And when that happens, you'll look back and realize leaving her alone was the moment your life finally started loving forward. And listen, there's something nobody really prepares you for after you finally walk away. The quiet, not the peaceful kind at first, the kind where there's no chaos, no waiting on replies, no wondering if today will be the day she finally shows up the way you need her to. That silence can feel uncomfortable because you got used to emotional noise, you got used to the highs and lows, the hope, the disappointment, the cycle, and when it's gone, your mind almost panics like it lost something important. But what it really lost was the stress. You're going to question yourself. You'll wonder if you were too harsh, too impatient, too emotional. You'll replay conversations and think, maybe I should have said this differently. Maybe I should have tried one more time. But understand this. If someone truly wanted to stay, they wouldn't have made you feel like you had to beg for effort. You wouldn't have had to over-explain your feelings. You wouldn't have felt like loving them was a constant uphill battle. The version of you that stayed too long did so because he believed in love. And that's not something to be ashamed of, but the version of you now, he's learning discernment. He's learning that love without respect will drain you. That potential means nothing without action. And that choosing yourself isn't selfish. It's necessary. You didn't lose her. You released someone who was blocking the path to someone better, someone who won't confuse consistency with boredom, someone who won't make you feel like an option, someone who won't need reminders of your worth. Right now, it might feel like you're walking alone, but you're not going backwards anymore, and that's everything. And one day, without even realizing it, you're going to wake up and she won't be the first thought on your mind anymore. Not because you stopped caring overnight, not because what you felt wasn't real, but because you finally gave yourself permission to move forward. The memories won't disappear, but they won't control you either. They'll just be reminders of what you survived, not what you're missing. You'll start to notice how much lighter you feel, how your chest isn't tight every time your phone buzzes, how you're not constantly checking stories, rereading old messages, or wondering why you weren't enough for someone who never knew how to love you properly in the first place. You'll realize how much of yourself you were giving away to someone who kept taking without ever pouring back into you, and that's when it hits you. The problem was never your effort. It was never your heart being too big. It was never you loving too deeply. The problem was that you were offering loyalty to someone who didn't know how to value it. You were offering consistency to someone addicted to convenience. And you were offering real love to someone who only liked the idea of being loved. Walking away wasn't a loss. It was a correction, a reset, a moment where you finally chose peace over potential, clarity over confusion, and self-respect over attachment. That takes strength most people don't have. So don't go back. Not when she gets lonely, not when she suddenly remembers your value, not when she realizes nobody else loved her the way you did, because by then you'll understand something important. Someone who truly wants you won't need to lose you to see your worth. Leave her alone, and finally let yourself be found by someone who won't ever make you question if you matter. You're the punching bag in the friend group, the one they always pick on for no reason, the one who takes every joke, every insult, every comment, and somehow you're expected to just laugh it off. No matter what you do, it's a lose-lose. If you're loud, they tell you to shut up. If you're quiet, they clown you for being antisocial. You could sit there and say nothing, and they'd still find a way to turn you into the joke. They comment on your body, your voice, the way you exist. Too big, too skinny, too awkward, too quiet, too much. It's always something. And what hurts the most is when they say, well, relax, it's just jokes. But here's the truth. Anything done over and over stops being funny. Eventually, it just starts to hurt. And you know it hurts because you've thought about cutting them off. You've replayed it in your head, but you don't do it because being the punching bag with friends feels safer than being alone without them. That's the part nobody talks about. How lonely it feels to choose disrespect just so you don't have to sit by yourself. But real friends don't need one person to constantly take all the hits. Talking shit is normal, yeah, but it should be spread evenly. Everyone should be able to take it. Everyone should be equal. If all the jokes land on you, that's not friendship. That's a target. So if you're the one always taking the blows, always swallowing it, always pretending you're fine, you need to hear this. Cut them off, not out of anger, out of self-respect, because happiness isn't waiting for you where you're constantly being torn down. It's waiting for you the moment you finally choose yourself. Every girl needs to understand this, and I mean really understand it. If you have a man in your life who is willing to do anything for you, a man who loves you unconditionally, who shows up without being asked, who takes the extra step even when he's tired, even when he's stressed, even when life isn't going his way, that is not normal. That is rare. That is something most people spend their entire lives searching for and never find. A man like that doesn't just come around every relationship. You get that man once, maybe twice in your entire lifetime if you're lucky. And if you decide to let him go, if you push him away, if you take him for granted, you didn't just lose a relationship. You fumbled something special in ways you won't fully understand until it's gone. We're living in a generation where a lot of guys are completely fed up with love. They've been lied to, cheated on, emotionally drained, and replaced like they were nothing. So now they move different. They become colder, they become nonchalant, they stop loving the way they used to because every time they did, it cost them something, not because they wanted to hurt anyone, but because that's what the world taught them to do, just to survive. So when you find a man who still loves deeply, who still cares, who still communicates instead of shutting down, who doesn't disappear when things get hard, who doesn't make you question where you stand, you need to understand how rare that really is. Some people don't know how to handle good because they've never been shown good before. Chaos feels normal to them. Peace feels boring. Stability feels unfamiliar. So when something healthy finally shows up, they self-sabotage it. They test it. They disrespect it. They assume it's replaceable. And don't get it twisted. Guys do this too. But if you have a good man, don't play with that blessing. Don't think you can treat him however you want and he'll always stay. Don't think his patience is unlimited. Don't think his heart won't eventually get tired. Pull the petty shit to the side. Learn how to grow. Learn how to communicate instead of argue. Pay attention to the small things he does because those small things are how he shows his love. Be in tune with his emotions the same way he's in tune with yours. If he listens to you, if he protects your heart, if he shows effort without excuses, if he chooses you every day even when it's not easy, don't lose him thinking you'll just find another one like him. Because men like that are rare as fuck. And once they're gone, they don't come back the same. So be good to bro because honestly, he deserves it. I think the hardest thing to admit now is that I waited too long for her. Not a few days, not a few weeks. I'm talking about months of believing that eventually she would see me the way I saw her. Because when you really care about someone, patience feels like loyalty. You tell yourself that love isn't supposed to be rushed, that real connections take time, that sometimes people just need space to figure things out. So I gave her that space. I stayed patient when things felt uncertain. I stayed loyal even when the energy between us started shifting. And every time something felt off, I told myself the same thing. Just give it time. Time would make her realize how much I cared. Time would make the connection stronger. Time would make everything finally fall into place. But looking back now, I realize something painful. Sometimes time doesn't fix things. Sometimes time just shows you what someone was never going to choose. And while I was waiting, she was slowly moving in a different direction. Well, when you wait for someone you care about, it doesn't feel like you're wasting time. It feels like you're being loyal. You tell yourself that patience is proof that your feelings are real, that if you just stay consistent long enough, eventually they'll see what's right in front of them. So that's what I did. I stayed, even when the signs started becoming confusing. There were moments where she would pull closer again, moments where the conversations felt like they used to, moments where she would say things that made it seem like maybe, just maybe, we were finally getting somewhere. And every time that happened, it reset my hope. It made me believe the waiting was worth it. Because hope is powerful. Hope convinces you that the future will eventually match the way you feel. But the problem with hope is that it can keep you standing in the same place while the other person is slowly walking somewhere else. And I didn't see that at the time, because while I was waiting for things to become clearer, she was slowly becoming less certain about us. And the scariest part is how quietly that shift happens. It doesn't start with a big moment. It starts with small changes, replies that come slower, conversations that feel shorter, energy that feels just a little different than before. At first you ignore it because you tell yourself the same thing you've been telling yourself the whole time. Just give it time. But sometimes time doesn't move people closer. Sometimes it slowly moves them away. And by the time you realize that, you've already waited longer than you should have. The strange thing about waiting for someone is that you don't realize how much time you're giving away until you look back at it. While I was waiting for her to figure out her feelings, my whole mindset was built around patience. I told myself that real connections take time, that people sometimes need space before they realize what's right in front of them. So whenever things felt uncertain, I convinced myself that uncertainty was just part of the process. I thought eventually she would see me the way I saw her, But the longer I waited, the more the relationship started feeling one-sided. Not in obvious ways. She still talked to me. She still checked in sometimes. She still kept the connection alive just enough that it never felt completely over. And that's the part that kept me there, because every small moment of closeness made it seem like progress. Like maybe we were finally moving towards something real. But looking back now, those moments didn't mean we were getting closer. They just meant she wasn't ready to fully let me go yet. And there's a big difference between someone building something with you and someone keeping you close while they're still figuring out what they want. At the time, I couldn't see that difference clearly. All I knew was that I cared about her, and I believed that eventually she would care about me the same way. So I stayed patient, even when the signs started becoming harder to ignore, even when the connection started feeling less stable than it used to. Because once you invest that much time waiting for someone, it becomes harder to walk away. You start telling yourself that leaving now would mean all that waiting was for nothing. So you stay longer, you give it more time, you hope just a little more, and that's how you end up realizing something painful later on. You didn't just wait for her. You waited too long. The hardest part about waiting too long for someone is realizing that the time you gave them was real, even if the outcome wasn't. Because every day I stayed patient, I believed it meant something. Every message I sent, every conversation where I tried to understand her better, every moment where I chose to stay instead of walking away when things felt uncertain, to me those moments were proof that I cared, proof that the connection mattered enough to fight for. But there's something difficult about waiting that you don't notice until it's already happened. Waiting slowly turns into hoping, and hoping slowly turns into ignoring reality. There were signs that things weren't moving the way I thought they were. Moments where her effort didn't match mine. Moments where the connection felt like it was staying in the same place instead of growing. Moments where it felt like I was investing more emotionally than she was. But every time I noticed those signs, I told myself the same thing. Just give it more time. Because when you care about someone, you don't want to believe the connection might not lead anywhere. You want to believe the patience will eventually pay off. But the truth is, patience only works when both people are moving toward the same thing. If one person is waiting while the other person is slowly drifting away, time doesn't bring you closer. It just stretches the distance. And by the time I started realizing that, I'd already waited longer than I should have. Another thing about waiting too long for someone is how quietly it changes your life. Because when you're emotionally invested in someone, your decisions start revolving around them. You hold space for them in your future. You imagine what things could become. You avoid moving on because a part of you still believes they might eventually choose you. And that's exactly what I did. I didn't explore other connections. I didn't let myself get too close to anyone else because, in my mind, I was already committed to her, even if the relationship wasn't fully defined. And that's the trap of waiting. You stay emotionally loyal to someone who hasn't fully chosen you yet, not because you're naive, but because you believe loyalty will eventually be recognized. You believe that if someone sees how patient you are, how consistent you are, how much you care, they'll eventually realize you're the right person. But life doesn't always work like that. Sometimes people appreciate your patience, sometimes they even care about you, but that doesn't always mean they'll choose you. And that's a painful thing to understand, because it means the time you gave them didn't guarantee the future you imagined. And when that realization finally hits, you start asking yourself a difficult question. Was I waiting for the right person? Or was I waiting for someone who was never going to choose me in the first place? Once I started asking myself that question, honestly, everything began to look different. Because when you stop looking at the situation through hope, you start seeing it through clarity. And clarity shows you things you didn't want to notice before. Like how often I was the one reaching out first, how often I was the one trying to keep the connection alive, how often I was the one convincing myself that things would eventually work out. At the time, I thought that was just what patience looked like, but now I understand something important. Patience in a relationship only makes sense when both people are building something together. If only one person is investing time, effort, and emotional energy, that's not patience, that's imbalance. And I was standing in that imbalance longer than I should have, because I kept believing that eventually the effort would be returned, eventually the connection would stabilize, eventually she would see me the same way I saw her, but eventually never came. And the hardest part about realizing that isn't just the heartbreak, it's realizing how much time you spent waiting for something that was never truly moving toward you. For a while, that realization made me feel foolish, because it made me feel like I should have known sooner, like I should have seen the signs earlier, like I should have walked away the moment things started feeling uncertain. But the truth is, caring about someone doesn't make you foolish, it makes you human. When you believe in someone, you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. You want to believe their uncertainty is temporary. You want to believe the connection you feel will eventually become mutual, so you stay longer, you give more time, you hope a little harder, and sometimes that hope leads to something real. But sometimes it just leads to a lesson. And the lesson I learned is something I'll never forget. You shouldn't have to wait indefinitely for someone to recognize your value. If someone truly sees you as part of their future, they don't leave you standing in uncertainty for months. They choose you, and they show that choice through their actions. Once I understood that, the pain started changing into something else. Perspective. Because waiting too long for someone doesn't mean you were weak. It means you believed in the possibility of something meaningful. And there's nothing wrong with believing in people, but there's a difference between believing in someone and ignoring the reality of their actions, because actions always tell the truth eventually. Someone who truly wants you doesn't keep you waiting forever. They don't keep you guessing about where you stand. They don't keep you in a place where you feel like you're hoping more than you're building. They make their intentions clear, and if someone doesn't do that, the waiting only leads to one outcome. Eventually you realize you were holding space for someone who wasn't holding space for you. When I finally stopped waiting for her, something surprising happened. I started getting my clarity back. Because when you're waiting for someone emotionally, a part of your life feels paused. Your focus stays tied to the possibility of what could happen. Your decisions revolve around the connection. Your energy stays invested in someone who might not even be moving in the same direction. But the moment you stop waiting, everything shifts. You start seeing things more objectively. You start realizing how much emotional energy you were giving to someone who wasn't fully present, and you start understanding something important. The time you spent waiting wasn't wasted. It taught you exactly what you should never accept again. Looking back now, I can honestly say I waited too long for her, but I don't regret caring. I don't regret being patient, because those things say something about who I am. What I do regret is staying in uncertainty longer than I should have, because the right person doesn't make you wait forever to feel chosen. They don't keep you in a constant state of hoping. They don't make you question whether the connection is real. They make their intentions clear. They meet your effort with their own, and they move forward with you, not away from you. So yeah, I waited too long for her, but that experience taught me something I'll carry with me forever. Next time I won't stay in a place where I feel like I'm waiting to be chosen, because the right connection doesn't feel like waiting. It feels like moving forward together. I don't ask for much. I don't need constant reassurance. I don't need public displays. I don't need dramatic promises, but sometimes I catch myself wondering, do you even love me? Or do you just love the role I play in your life? Because there's a difference. Loving someone means you care about their heart. Liking what they do for you means you care about their presence, and those are not the same thing. I'm the easy one to love. I don't argue much, I don't complain often. Try to understand before reacting. I adjust, I compromise, I give space when needed. And sometimes I wonder if that's the problem, because when you're low maintenance, people forget maintenance is still required. Love isn't just staying, it's how you stay. Do you check in on my feelings without me hinting at them? Do you notice when my energy shifts? Do you protect my heart the same way I protect yours? Or do you just assume I'm fine because I don't break down in front of you? I think what hurts the most is not being unloved. It's being loved passively. Loved when it's convenient, loved when you need comfort, loved when I'm strong for you, but quiet when I need the same intensity back. That kind of love feels unbalanced, and imbalance turns into doubt. Sometimes I don't need more affection, I need clarity. Clarity in actions, clarity in effort, clarity in consistency. Because love shouldn't feel seasonal, it shouldn't spike when you're lonely and fade when you're comfortable. It should be stable, not loud, stable. I've realized something. If I have to constantly question whether I'm loved, then something is missing. Not necessarily feelings, but expression. Because real love doesn't leave you in confusion. It reassures you without you begging for it. It shows up without you scheduling it. It protects your peace instead of disturbing it. And maybe you do love me. Maybe you just love differently. But here's the truth no one likes to admit. If your version of love doesn't make me feel secure, then it's incomplete, because love isn't just about what you feel internally. It's about what I experience externally. I don't want to beg to feel valued. I don't want to explain why consistency matters. I don't want to teach someone how to treat me with care. If I have to convince you to show up for me properly, that's not partnership, that's negotiation. And love shouldn't feel like negotiation. The scary part is this: I don't want to lose you, but I also don't want to stay somewhere where I feel half chosen. Because half love is heavy, it keeps you close enough to hope but far enough to doubt, and doubt slowly eats at your confidence. So do you even love me? Maybe the better question is, do I feel loved consistently? Do I feel prioritized, protected, considered? Because love shouldn't feel like a mystery. It shouldn't feel like something I have to decode. If I'm loved, I should know. Not because you say it once, but because you show it daily. And if I ever have to keep asking myself whether I'm loved, that might mean I deserve a love that doesn't make me question it at all. Sometimes I don't question whether I love people. I know I do. I love intentionally, I love in details, I love in the quiet ways that don't always get noticed. I remember the small things you said 3 months ago. I notice when your voice sounds slightly different. I pay attention to your moods without you having to explain them. If you're overwhelmed, I adjust. If you're distant, I check in. If you're hurting, I feel it too. So when I sit alone and that thought creeps in, am I actually loved the same way? It doesn't come from insecurity. It comes from imbalance, because loving someone isn't hard for me, but feeling consistently loved back, that's where it gets complicated. There's a difference between being wanted and being valued, between being chosen and being considered, between someone enjoying your presence and someone protecting your heart. And sometimes I can't tell which one I am. Am I loved, or am I just convenient? Am I loved, or am I just consistent? Am I loved, or am I just the safe option, the stable one, the reliable one, the one who won't leave easily? Because people say I love you all the time, but love isn't proven in the words, it's proven in patterns. Do you show up the same way on random days, not just when you're lonely? Do you care about my emotions when they're inconvenient? Do you notice when I go quiet, or do you only feel my absence when I stop giving? That's the part nobody talks about. You can be in a relationship, you can be talking every day. You can be physically close and still feel emotionally unsure, still feel like you're giving more than you're receiving, still feel like if you stop trying so hard, everything would fall apart. And if that's true, is that love? Or is that maintenance? I don't need constant reassurance. I don't need over-the-top affection. I don't need dramatic gestures. But I need to feel secure. I need to feel like I matter when I'm not performing strength. I need to feel like I'm loved even on the days I'm quiet, tired, distant, not at my best. Because real love doesn't just enjoy you when you're easy. It stays steady when you're human, and I think that's what scares me. The possibility that I'm loved for what I provide, not for who I am. Loved for my stability. Loved for my patience. Loved for my understanding, but not deeply studied. Not emotionally prioritized. Not carefully handled. And if I'm being honest, I don't want half love. I don't want to be someone's comfort without being their commitment. I don't want to be someone's peace without being their priority. So yeah, sometimes I sit with that quiet question. Am I actually loved, or am I just really good at loving others? The hardest part about questioning love is that it doesn't always come from obvious neglect, doesn't always come from cheating or lying or someone clearly mistreating you. Sometimes it comes from subtle absence, from emotional gaps you can't quite explain, from feeling like you're standing next to someone but not fully with them. Because love isn't just about presence, it's about engagement. It's about whether someone studies you the way you study them. I ask myself things like, if I stopped initiating, how long would it take for them to notice? If I didn't send the good morning text, would they send one first? If I went quiet for a few days, would they check in because they care or because they're bored? And I hate that those thoughts even exist, because when love feels secure, you don't test it in your head, you don't calculate effort, you don't keep mental score, you just exist inside it peacefully. But when love feels uneven, your brain starts tracking patterns. Who apologizes first? Who makes more time? Who adjusts more? And that's when the doubt begins. Not loud doubt, quiet doubt. The kind that sits in your chest at night. The kind that makes you reread conversations. The kind that makes you wonder if you're asking for too much or just asking the wrong person. I don't want dramatic love. I don't want obsession. I don't want someone who can't function without me. I want someone who chooses me consciously, daily, not because I'm easy, not because I'm stable, not because I don't cause problems, but because they genuinely value me, because they care about my internal world, because they don't want to risk losing me through laziness or emotional distance. That's the difference. You can love someone and still be careless. You can love someone and still take them for granted. You can love someone and still assume they'll never leave. But being loved properly, that feels intentional. It feels protected. It feels like someone is actively maintaining the connection, not just enjoying it. And sometimes I wonder, if I pulled my energy back to neutral, if I stopped overcompensating, if I loved at the same level I was receiving, would it still feel strong? Or would everything start crumbling? Because if my effort is what's holding us up, that's not love, that's imbalance disguised as loyalty, and I don't want to resent someone for something I never addressed, but I also don't want to keep shrinking just to avoid conflict. I want to feel wanted loudly enough that I don't question it silently. I want to feel secure enough that I don't rehearse conversations in my head. I want to feel chosen in a way that removes doubt instead of feeding it, because love shouldn't feel like something you constantly measure. It should feel like something you rest inside, and until I can sit in it, without wondering if I matter the same way, I think that question will always echo softly. Am I actually loved, or am I just deeply loving? I think what makes this question heavy is that I don't doubt your feelings. I doubt your effort, because feelings are invisible. Effort isn't. You can tell me you love me, you can say it in the right tone, you can even mean it. But love that isn't maintained eventually feels like memory, and I don't want to live off potential. I don't want to survive off they care, they're just bad at showing it. Because if I can show it, if I can adjust, if I can communicate clearly, why does it feel like I'm the one stretching more? That's where the exhaustion comes in, not from loving you, from overcompensating for the space you leave. There's a specific loneliness that comes when you're the emotionally aware one, when you're the one who brings things up calmly, when you're the one who says, let's talk about it, when you're the one who makes sure small issues don't become big ones. And sometimes I wonder, If I stopped being that person, would you step into that role? Or would we slowly drift because I stopped carrying the emotional weight? That's not partnership, that's imbalance. And imbalance slowly turns love into doubt. I don't need perfection, I need reciprocity. I need to feel like if I fall apart, you won't just watch. I need to feel like if I go quiet, you'll notice. I need to feel like if I stop being strong for a moment, you won't become distant. Because love isn't just about who stays when it's easy. It's about who leans in when things feel uncomfortable. And sometimes I don't feel leaned into, I feel leaned on. And there's a difference. I don't want to be your emotional safety net without you being mine. I don't want to be the consistent one while wondering if I'm consistently valued. And maybe you do love me, but if I constantly have to question it, then something about the way it's being expressed isn't landing. Because real love doesn't eliminate all fear, but it does eliminate constant uncertainty. It doesn't make you feel like you're negotiating your worth. It makes you feel secure enough to stop asking yourself if you matter. And until I can sit in this without quietly measuring effort, without wondering if I'm too much, without shrinking my needs to maintain peace, that question will stay in the back of my mind. Am I actually loved, or am I just deeply convenient? I think the real fear isn't that you don't love me, it's that you love me comfortably. There's a difference. Comfortable love is quiet. It assumes. It relaxes a little too much. It stops trying as hard because it believes I'm not going anywhere. And maybe I won't, but that doesn't mean I don't notice the shift. In the beginning, effort feels automatic. You call just to hear my voice. You ask questions and actually wait for the answers. You care about how my day went, not just what happened. But once things feel stable, do you still pursue me? Do you still choose me loudly? Do you still protect the connection like it could be lost? Or do you just exist in it? Because love that stops being intentional slowly starts feeling optional. And I don't want to feel optional in someone's life. I don't want to be the person you assume will always understand, the person you assume won't leave, the person you assume doesn't need reassurance, because the strong ones still need softness, the independent ones still need consistency, the calm ones still need effort, and sometimes I think people forget that. They mistake my patience for infinite tolerance. They mistake my understanding for emotional immunity. They mistake my loyalty for permanence. But even loyal people get tired. Even understanding people feel hurt. Even calm people question things when the effort changes. I don't want to be loved lazily. I don't want to be loved based on convenience. I want to be loved actively. I want someone who doesn't just assume I know they care, but make sure I feel it. Someone who doesn't just stay, but stays with intention. Because here's the truth, if I ever stopped trying the way I do now, would you fight for this the same way? If I ever pulled my energy back to neutral, would you step up or would you get distant? That question alone tells me a lot. Love shouldn't feel like something I'm maintaining by myself. It shouldn't feel like if I relax for a second, everything will slowly fade. It should feel mutual, balanced, protected from both sides. And until I feel that consistently, not just in moments, not just after conflict, not just when I express doubt, that quiet thought will linger. Am I loved deeply or just comfortably? Maybe the hardest part about all of this is that I don't want to accuse you. I don't want to sound ungrateful. I don't want to seem insecure. I don't want to turn something small into something heavy. But silence builds pressure, and pressure turns into quiet resentment, because when I feel like I'm giving more than I'm receiving, I don't explode, I adjust. I overthink, I analyze, I start loving more carefully, and that's when something shifts inside me. I stop being soft in the same way, I stop opening up as freely, I stop expressing needs because I don't want to feel like a burden. And you probably wouldn't even notice at first, because I don't change loudly, I change subtly. And that's the scary part, because once I start protecting myself emotionally, I don't fully come back the same. I don't want to have to guard my heart with someone who says they love me. I don't want to measure my words. I don't want to calculate how much reassurance I can ask for without seeming too much. I want to exist freely, but freedom only comes when love feels secure, not intense, not obsessive, secure. The kind of secure where I don't have to question your effort after a disagreement. The kind of secure where your consistency doesn't depend on my mood. The kind of secure where I don't feel like I have to earn softness from you, because love shouldn't feel conditional. It shouldn't spike when I'm easy to love and dip when I need extra understanding. And sometimes I ask myself something deeper. If I disappeared tomorrow, would you miss me because you love me, or because you lost something that benefited you? Would you miss my heart, or just my stability? Would you miss the way I care, or just the fact that I cared consistently? That difference matters more than people realize, because I don't want to be someone's comfort zone if I'm not also their conscious choice. I don't want to be someone's safe option if I'm not also their priority. And I don't want to keep pouring into something where I feel like I'm the emotional backbone. Love should feel like two people holding it up, not one person carrying it quietly. And until I feel that weight shared, I'll keep asking myself softly, am I actually loved, or am I just deeply dependable? I think what I've realized is this: if I constantly have to ask myself whether I'm loved, then something inside me doesn't feel safe, because real love doesn't require constant decoding. It doesn't make you sit alone at night replaying conversations. It doesn't make you question your worth after small disagreements. It doesn't make you shrink just to maintain peace. Real love feels steady, not perfect, not dramatic, steady. It feels like someone who chooses you, even when you're not at your best. It feels like someone who reassures without being forced. It feels like someone who protects your heart, like it's their responsibility too. And maybe you do love me, but if your love makes me anxious, if it makes me overanalyze, if it makes me feel like I'm asking for too much when I ask for consistency, then it's not landing the way love should, because love shouldn't make you question your value. It should reinforce it. It shouldn't make you feel like you're lucky to be chosen. It should make you feel mutually chosen. Maybe the real shift isn't asking, am I actually loved? Maybe it's asking, do I feel secure here? Do I feel prioritized? Do I feel emotionally safe? Because love isn't just something someone says. It's something you experience repeatedly. It's in the tone, the effort, the consistency after comfort sets in, the way someone handles you when you're difficult, not just when you're easy. And if I'm honest, I don't want intense love. I don't want dramatic love. I don't want love that feels like a roller coaster. I want love that makes me stop asking this question entirely. Love that's so clear, so intentional, so consistent that doubt doesn't have room to grow. Because if I'm constantly wondering whether I'm loved, then maybe I'm not asking for too much. Maybe I just haven't experienced love that makes the answer obvious. And when I do, I won't have to ask. I'll know. You're gorgeous, but that's honestly the least interesting thing about you. Yeah, you're beautiful. Anyone with eyes can see that. You walk into a room and people notice without even trying. It's like your presence adjusts the whole atmosphere. Like the energy shifts just because you showed up. But the thing is, beauty is the easiest thing to see. It takes zero effort to point out someone's face. What I see in you, that takes attention. That takes knowing you, and that's the part that makes you unforgettable. I notice the way your eyes change when you talk about something you really care about. Not just the sparkle, but the focus, the passion, the way your whole voice lifts. It's like watching a flame catch even when you're trying to hide it. Maybe you don't realize it, but that passion, that's one of the most beautiful things about you. I notice your laugh, not the polite one you use when you're trying to be quiet, but the real one. The one that takes over your whole body. The one you try to cover because you're scared it's too loud, too much. But that laugh, it's the kind that makes people laugh just hearing it. It fills the room in a way nothing else does. And then there are the moments nobody else sees. The way you fall silent when you're hurting, the way you try to hold yourself together because you don't want to bother anyone with your problems. You carry your pain like it's something you owe the world an apology for. Like you have to be strong all the time, and somehow, even in your quietest moments, you still show up for people with your full heart. That strength, It's rare. The kind of beauty you can't put makeup on, can't fake, can't recreate. But the way you care, that leaves marks on the people lucky enough to know you. Your beauty might turn heads, but your soul, the way you love, the way you give, the way you dream, that's what makes people stay. That's what makes you unforgettable. People think they know you because they see your face, but if they paid attention, really paid attention, they'd realize your looks are just the cover, not the story. You're gorgeous, yeah, but honestly, that's the least extraordinary thing about you. Your real beauty exists in the parts of you the world never sees unless they earn it, and that's the part of you I never stop being in awe of. I don't think I ever wanted too much. I didn't need perfection. I didn't need constant attention. I didn't need someone to save me. I just wanted to be cared for. I wanted someone who noticed when I went quiet, someone who checked in without being asked, someone who didn't treat my presence like something optional. But every time I tried to explain that, it sounded like neediness, like I was asking for too much. So I stayed quiet. I accepted less. I told myself I was independent enough to not need reassurance, but deep down that wasn't true. I wasn't asking to be obsessed over. I wasn't asking to be put on a pedestal. I was asking to matter, to feel like my absence would be noticed, like my feelings would be considered, like I didn't have to earn basic care by being easy, understanding, or low maintenance. And every time I didn't get that, I told myself it was fine, that this is just how people are, that expecting care is unrealistic, that I should be grateful for whatever effort showed up, but wanting to be cared for doesn't make you weak. It means you're human. It means you want a connection where effort is mutual and presence isn't forced. And the hardest part is realizing how long you stayed in places where you felt invisible just because you didn't want to seem like you needed too much. I didn't want someone to fix me. I just wanted someone who cared enough to stay aware of me. At some point, wanting to be cared for turns into accepting the bare minimum. You stop asking questions, stop expressing needs, stop pointing out what hurts, because every time you do, it feels like you're asking for too much. So you adjust, you get excited over replies that should be normal, you appreciate effort that should be consistent, you thank people for things they do effortlessly if they truly cared, and you tell yourself this is just how love works. But deep down you feel it, the imbalance, the quiet disappointment, the way you're always the one paying attention. You're not asking for grand gestures, you're asking for awareness, to be checked on, to be considered, to feel like your emotions aren't an inconvenience, but instead you keep shrinking your expectations to fit what people are willing to give. You call it being low maintenance, being understanding, being independent, when really you're just afraid that if you ask for more, you'll lose what little you have. And that's the part that hurts, because you don't want more love, you just want the love that's already there to show up consistently. You don't want to beg for care, you want it to be natural. And the longer you settle, the more you start questioning yourself. Am I too sensitive? Am I needy? Am I wrong for wanting this? But wanting to be cared for was never the problem. Staying where you're barely noticed is. Pretending you don't need care slowly disconnects you from yourself. You start ignoring your own feelings before anyone else can. You tell yourself you're fine even when you're not. You swallow disappointment and call it maturity, because admitting you want care feels risky. It feels like giving someone power to decide whether you're too much, so you choose silence instead. You become the easy one, the understanding one, the one who doesn't ask for reassurance or consistency or emotional presence. And people like that version of you, because it asks for nothing, but inside something starts to dull. You feel lonely even when you're not alone. You feel unseen even when someone's there. You start questioning whether your needs are even valid anymore. That's when you know you've gone too far. Not by wanting care, but by convincing yourself you don't deserve it. You weren't meant to love people from a distance. You weren't meant to be strong at the cost of being felt. Care isn't weakness. Wanting it isn't dependency. It's connection. And the moment you deny yourself that truth, you don't just lose it from others, you lose it from yourself. there's a moment where it finally hits you. You've been caring for everyone else while no one was really caring for you. You remember how often you checked in, how often you noticed shifts in tone, how often you adjusted yourself to make things easier for others, and then you look back and realize how rarely anyone did that for you. No one asked if you were okay when you went quiet. No one noticed when your energy changed. No one slowed down enough to really see you. And that realization hurts in a quiet, heavy way because you weren't asking for perfection. You weren't asking to be prioritized above everything. You were asking for reciprocity. To feel like your presence mattered as much as you made theirs matter. That's when the exhaustion sets in. Not physical tiredness, emotional fatigue. The kind that comes from always being the one who cares first, who understands more, who gives grace even when it costs you. You start wondering how you became so good at holding space for people who never learned how to hold it for you. And the truth is uncomfortable. You taught them it was okay to lean on you without leaning back, to receive care without returning it, not because you wanted imbalance, but because you didn't want to feel abandoned. And realizing that is both painful and clarifying because it shows you something important. You weren't asking for too much, you were just asking it from the wrong people. That realization changes how you choose people. You stop being impressed by words. You stop getting attached to potential. You stop mistaking attention for care because now you know the difference. Care looks like consistency. It looks like remembering. It looks like showing up even when it's not convenient. So you start paying attention to who checks in without being prompted, who notices when you're off, who doesn't make you explain why you need what you need. And at first that makes your circle smaller. You walk away from people you once would have stayed for. You stop overextending. You stop being the only one holding things together. Not because you don't care anymore, but because you finally care about yourself too. You don't chase care now. You don't hint at it. You don't downplay your needs to make someone comfortable. You let people show you how they show up. And if they don't, you don't argue with it. You don't try to teach them how to care. You accept the information and move accordingly because wanting to be cared for isn't a flaw, it's a boundary. And the moment you start honoring it, you realize something important. You'd rather be alone than be surrounded and still feel unseen. Choosing yourself feels lonely at first, not because you made the wrong choice, but because you stopped filling the silence with people who never really saw you. You notice the absence quickly, the lack of constant conversation, the quiet that comes when you're no longer overgiving just to stay connected, and that quiet can be uncomfortable because for a long time, being needed made you feel valued. Being available made you feel important. Being the one who cared most made you feel like you belonged. Now you don't do that anymore. You don't reach out first every time. You don't check in when it's never returned. You don't hold space for people who won't hold it for you. And yes, that leaves gaps, but those gaps feel different than the loneliness you had before. Before you were lonely even when surrounded by people. Now you're alone but at peace. There's no resentment building, no quiet disappointment, no wondering why you're not enough. Just space to breathe, space to feel what you feel, space to rebuild a relationship with yourself that isn't based on neglect. You start realizing that loneliness with self-respect is lighter than connection without care. And once you taste that peace, it's hard to go back because you finally understand. Being cared for starts with not abandoning yourself anymore. Learning how to receive care is harder than giving it. That part surprised me. I was always good at showing up, at checking in, at being thoughtful without being asked. But when someone tried to do that for me, I didn't know how to relax into it. I questioned it. I downplayed it. I felt uncomfortable being the one who was noticed because for so long, care felt conditional, like something you earned by being useful, easy, understanding. So when someone offers it freely without you proving anything, your first instinct is to brace yourself. You wait for it to disappear, you look for the catch, you assume it won't last, and that's not because you don't want care, it's because you're not used to it being consistent. You're used to being the giver, the supporter, the one who adapts. So receiving feels vulnerable in a way giving never did. It means letting someone see you without performing, letting yourself need without apologizing, letting care exist without questioning your worthiness of it. That takes unlearning. It takes time to believe that you don't have to exhaust yourself to deserve tenderness. And I'm still learning that, still reminding myself that care doesn't have to be chased, earned, or negotiated. Sometimes it's just there, and allowing it in is the bravest thing you can do after spending so long surviving without it. At some point, you stop asking why people don't care. You stop replaying conversations, stop analyzing tone, stop wondering what you could have done differently, because that question only keeps you stuck chasing explanations instead of truth. So you ask a different question: who actually shows up for me? Not who says they care, not who means well, not who shows interest when it's easy, but who checks in consistently, who notices when you're quiet, who doesn't disappear when you need space or reassurance or time. And the answer is usually smaller than you expect: fewer people, less noise, more clarity. That realization hurts, but it also simplifies everything. You stop pouring into people who only take. You stop investing in connections that leave you feeling unseen. You don't make announcements, you don't explain your shift, you just move differently. You protect your energy. You reserve your care for those who return it naturally. And slowly you stop feeling desperate to be noticed, because you're no longer surrounding yourself with people who make you feel invisible. Care stops being something you beg for and starts being something you recognize. And that's when you finally understand being cared for isn't about convincing people to treat you better. It's about choosing the ones who already do. Wanting to be cared for doesn't make you needy. It makes you honest. Needy is asking someone to fill a void they didn't create. Needy is expecting one person to carry everything for you. But wanting care, that's wanting reciprocity. That's wanting your effort to be met, your presence to be valued, your emotions to be considered. You're not asking someone to revolve their life around you. You're asking them to see you. And somewhere along the way, you were taught that asking for that was too much. So you minimized yourself, you softened your needs. You told yourself independence meant not needing anything from anyone. But that wasn't strength, that was self-denial, because even the strongest people need to feel cared for sometimes, need to feel noticed, need to feel like their existence matters to someone else. You don't want care because you can't survive without it. You want it because connection is part of being human. And the moment you stop shaming yourself for wanting that, everything changes. You stop apologizing for your needs. You stop pretending you're okay with being overlooked. You stop accepting crumbs just to feel included. You realize something important. You're not asking for too much. You're asking the wrong people. At the end of all this, I realized something simple. Wanting to be cared for is not something I negotiate anymore. I'm done explaining why it matters, done justifying why I feel hurt, done shrinking my needs so someone else can stay comfortable. Care is not a bonus, it's not extra, it's not something you earn by being quiet, easy, or low maintenance. It's the baseline. If someone doesn't notice me, doesn't check in, doesn't consider how their actions affect me, then they don't get access to me. Not out of bitterness, not out of anger, out of self-respect. I spent too long convincing myself that wanting care made me weak, too long accepting half presence and calling it connection, too long staying where I felt invisible, just to avoid being alone. I'm not doing that anymore. I don't need to be chased. I don't need to be obsessed over. I just need to be considered. And if someone can't do that naturally, without me begging, hinting, or explaining, then they're not my person. Because the right people won't make you feel guilty for wanting to matter. They won't make care feel conditional. They won't make you question whether you're asking for too much. They'll just show up. And until that happens, I'd rather stand alone with my needs intact than sit beside someone who makes me feel unseen. I didn't want too much. I just wanted to be cared for. And now I care enough about myself to never accept less again. Sometimes I feel like love just isn't meant for me. Not in a dramatic way, not in a woe is me way, just quietly, like I've watched it find everyone else and somehow keep missing me. I've done the work, I've tried to heal, I've tried to be patient, I've tried to love right, and still, nothing sticks. People come close, but never close enough to stay. They show interest, but never intention. I'm always almost chosen, almost loved, almost enough. And after a while, you stop asking what's wrong with them and start asking what's wrong with you. You start wondering if maybe you're just built differently, if maybe you feel too deeply for a world that loves lightly. I don't think love avoids me because I'm unlovable. I think it avoids me because I don't fit into how people love now. I don't do casual well. I don't know how to care halfway. I don't know how to pretend I wouldn't be hurt if it ended, and that makes people uncomfortable. They like the idea of me, they like the attention, they like being wanted, but when it comes time to choose, to commit, to stay, they hesitate, so I end up alone again. Not because I didn't try, but because I refused to chase what doesn't choose me back. And that's the part no one talks about. Sometimes loving yourself means accepting that love might take longer to find you, or worse, that it might not come at all. And that's a scary thought because I don't want much. I don't want perfection. I don't want fantasy. I just want someone who stays, someone who doesn't get overwhelmed by sincerity, someone who doesn't confuse depth with pressure. But the longer time passes, the quieter that hope gets. Not gone, just tired. I don't hate love. I don't resent it. I'm just starting to wonder if it has a place for me, and if it doesn't, I guess I'll have to learn how to live a full life without it. Not because I stopped believing, but because believing started to hurt more than letting go. It's not even the loneliness that gets me anymore, it's the pattern. How people come into my life with energy and leave with excuses. How they swear they like me but never enough to stay consistent. Never enough to choose me when it's not convenient. Never enough to make me feel secure. And I'm tired of hearing the same lines in different voices. I'm not ready. I'm focusing on myself. You deserve better. And maybe I do. But why does better never turn into someone who stays? At some point you stop feeling unlucky and start feeling singled out. Like love has an address and somehow it keeps getting my name wrong. I watch people get loved loudly, chosen publicly, protected without asking, and me? I get almost commitment, almost consistency, almost somebody's favorite, and that almost does something to you. It makes you question your personality, your looks, your worth, your timing. Like if you could just fix one thing, love would finally land. But then the quiet truth hits. Love isn't avoiding me because I'm impossible to love. It's avoiding me because I don't accept half love anymore. And that scares people because I don't want casual comfort. I want real intention. I want someone who doesn't disappear when it gets deep. Someone who doesn't treat effort like a favor. Someone who doesn't love me in waves. And if that kind of love doesn't exist for me, then I guess the hardest thing I'll ever do is stop waiting for it to show up. Not because I'm bitter, because I'm tired. After a while, you stop getting excited when someone new shows up. Not because you don't want love, but because you don't trust it to stay. So you hold back without meaning to. You don't open all the way. You don't imagine futures anymore. You don't let yourself get attached too fast, because every time you did before, it ended the same way. Distance, silence, someone slowly pulling away while pretending nothing changed. So now you detach early. Not out of coldness, do you? Out of self-defense. You start preparing for the ending before the beginning even settles. You keep one foot out the door because history taught you that staying hopeful hurts more. And the worst part, people feel that. They sense your hesitation, your guardedness, your quiet expectation that this won't last, and they match it. They don't go all in, they don't invest deeply, they keep things light, flexible, undefined, which only confirms what you already believed. Love doesn't choose you fully, so the cycle repeats. You expect love to leave. Love senses you're bracing, no one commits, everyone walks away, and you're left wondering if love avoids you, or if you've learned not to trust it enough to let it stay. That's the cruel part. You didn't become distant because you don't care. You became distant because you cared, and it kept costing you. So now you protect yourself by expecting less, and every time love passes you by, it reinforces the same quiet thought. Maybe love isn't meant to find me. Maybe it's meant to pass through. Eventually, hope stops hurting loudly. It just fades. You don't cry about love anymore. You don't rant about it. You don't even talk about it much. You just stop expecting it. You start telling yourself that maybe love is for other people. People who are easier, people who don't feel as deeply, people who fit better into how relationships work now. And that belief settles in quietly. You still show up. You still try when someone new comes around. But there's a ceiling now. You don't let yourself dream past the present. You don't imagine forever. You don't let excitement get too loud. Because disappointment trained you, you learned that getting your hopes up only makes the fall harder. So you keep them low, manageable, contained. People think you're calm, they think you're chill, they think you're emotionally mature, but really you're just tired of believing in something that keeps proving you wrong. You start romanticizing independence, telling yourself you don't need love anyway, that you're better off alone, that attachment is overrated, and maybe part of that is true. But another part of you still aches when you see people chosen easily, loved openly, protected without asking. You don't envy them. You just wonder why it never seems to be you. And the scariest thought creeps in, what if this isn't a phase? What if this isn't healing? What if this is just acceptance? Acceptance that love won't find you no matter how patient you are, no matter how much you grow, no matter how carefully you love. So you make peace with the idea that maybe love isn't your story, and that peace feels less like relief and more like surrender. At some point, you stop chasing love altogether. Not in a dramatic, I'm done with love way, but in a quiet, tired way. You stop looking for it in rooms, stop expecting it in conversations, stop wondering if this person might finally be different. You still show up, you still talk, you still connect, but the hunger is gone. Not because you're fulfilled, but because you're exhausted. You've wanted love for so long that wanting it started to feel embarrassing. Like asking for something that clearly wasn't meant to be yours. So you replace longing with numbness. You tell yourself you're fine, that you don't need anyone, that independence is better anyway. And some days you believe it, but other days it feels like you've just buried something alive. You don't get butterflies anymore. You don't get excited about potential. You don't let yourself feel anticipation. Because anticipation has disappointed you too many times. People mistake this version of you for healed. They say you're strong. They say you're grounded. They say you've matured. But what they don't see is how much of that softness you had to shut down to survive. You didn't stop wanting love because you outgrew it. You stopped because wanting it started to hurt too much. And now you're in this strange in-between place. Not heartbroken, not hopeful, just waiting without believing. And the thought that scares you the most isn't being alone. I was wondering if you've waited so long that even if love did find you now, you wouldn't know how to let it in. Sometimes the thought hits you that maybe love did try to find you before, and that's harder to sit with than believing it never came at all, because then you have to ask yourself if you were too hurt to see it, too guarded to trust it, too used to disappointment to believe something good could last. You replay moments differently now. People who tried to get close, but you kept at arm's length. Connections you didn't fully invest in because you were already bracing for the end. Not because they were bad, but because you were tired. Tired of hoping, tired of opening up, tired of being the one who cared more. So you stayed cautious, you stayed reserved, you stayed prepared to lose, and maybe that protection kept you safe, but it also kept you distant. That realization stings because it means love wasn't always the one that failed to show up. Sometimes it showed up quietly and you were too wounded to let it stay. But even knowing that, you don't blame yourself. You were doing what you knew how to do to survive repeated disappointment. You weren't cold, you weren't careless, you were scared. Scared to believe again and have it fall apart like it always did. So you chose control over vulnerability, distance over hope, certainty over possibility. And now you're left wondering if love will ever feel safe enough again to recognize when it's real. That question lingers, not loudly, not urgently, just quietly in the back of your mind. At some point, fear quietly replaces hope, not all at once, not dramatically, just slowly. You stop expecting good things to last. You stop trusting excitement. You stop letting yourself believe that something real could finally choose you. So you protect your heart. At first, it feels smart, responsible, like growth. You don't overshare. You don't get attached too fast. You don't let people see how much you care. But over time, protection turns into distance. You're not just guarding against pain anymore. You're guarding against connection. You start filtering yourself, keeping conversations surface level, holding back emotions before they even have a chance to exist. And people feel that. They don't push deeper, they don't try harder. They assume you're not that interested, which feeds the same belief again. Love doesn't choose you. But what's really happening is that fear is deciding for you. Fear is telling you it's safer not to hope, safer not to want too much, safer not to open the door all the way. Because every time you opened it before, something left. So now you keep it cracked, just enough to say you tried, never enough to risk getting hurt again. And that's the quiet tragedy of it. You didn't stop believing in love because you don't care. You stopped because caring started to feel dangerous, and the longer fear sits in the driver's seat, the harder it becomes to remember what hope even felt like. Eventually you start telling yourself you're better off alone, not because you don't want love, but because wanting it feels pointless. You say things like, I'm used to being by myself, I don't need anyone, I'm fine the way I am. And part of that is true. You're strong on your own. You have learned how to survive without being chosen. You can build a life that doesn't depend on someone staying. But there's another part you don't talk about. The part that still wants to be seen. The part that still wants someone to stay without being asked. The part that wonders what it would feel like to finally be someone's first choice. So you compromise with yourself. You don't hope, but you don't fully let go either. You live in this middle space where love is something other people get, and you quietly prepare for a life without it. You stop imagining shared futures. You stop picturing growing old with someone. You plan your life around independence because that's the only constant you trust. And people admire you for it. They call you self-sufficient. They say you're unbothered. They think you're healed. But healing isn't supposed to feel like convincing yourself you don't want something you still ache for. You didn't choose solitude because it fulfilled you. You chose it because disappointment taught you not to expect more. And the scariest part, the longer you live like this, the more normal it feels. Love stops feeling like something missing and starts feeling like something unrealistic. And that's when you wonder if love didn't avoid you at all. If you just slowly stopped believing you were allowed to have it. The truth is, you never stopped wanting love. You just stopped admitting it. You tell yourself you're fine alone, that you've outgrown the need for romance, that you're focused on yourself now. But late at night, when everything's quiet, that truth shows up. You still imagine being chosen, still wonder what it would feel like to be someone's safe place, still crave a love that doesn't hesitate. You just don't say it out loud anymore, Because admitting you still want love feels dangerous. It feels like setting yourself up for disappointment again. Like reopening a door you worked so hard to close, so you downplay it, you joke about it, you bury it under independence and self-control. But wanting love never made you weak. Being hurt just taught you to hide that want better. You learned how to survive without being chosen, but survival was never the same as fulfillment, and deep down you know the difference. You didn't stop believing in love because you healed. You stopped because believing started to feel like self-betrayal. Like hoping for something that never came was making a fool of you. So you chose silence instead. But that silence doesn't mean you're done wanting love. It just means you're tired of wanting it alone. At some point, you have to face the question you've been avoiding this whole time. Is love really done with you, or are you done believing in it? Because the truth is, love didn't disappear overnight. It faded every time you were disappointed, every time someone almost chose you, every time you opened up and watched it fall apart again. Eventually, believing started to feel stupid, like hoping for something that clearly wasn't meant for you. So you stopped. Not because you stopped wanting love, but because you couldn't handle wanting it alone anymore. You told yourself this is just how life turned out, that some people get love and others learn how to live without it, and maybe that belief protected you. It kept you from more heartbreak, more waiting, more letting yourself down, but it also cost you something. It cost you the ability to imagine a future that includes being chosen. It cost you the courage to believe something good could stay. So now you stand here, not hopeless, not hopeful, just tired of wondering, tired of preparing for disappointment, tired of asking why love keeps missing you. And maybe the hardest truth is this: love didn't stop trying to find you. You just stopped leaving the door open, not because you're broken, not because you're unlovable, but because getting your hopes up hurt more than letting them go. And whether love ever finds you or not, one thing is clear now: you didn't lose because you loved too much. You lost because loving started to feel unsafe. So if love ever does come again, it won't be loud, it won't rush you, it won't demand you believe right away. It'll wait, and the real question won't be whether love finds you. It'll be whether you're willing to believe again when it does. Let's switch places for a second. You wait, and I never show up. No explanation, no closure, just distance that keeps growing. At first, you tell yourself it's nothing. They're busy. Life happens. You don't want to seem dramatic, so you wait a little longer. Then a little longer than that, you start checking your phone without realizing it. Every vibration feels like it might be me. Every hour that passes feels heavier than the last, and somehow you convince yourself that hoping hurts less than letting go. You replay old conversations just to remind yourself it was real. You reread messages that once made you feel chosen, even though now they feel empty, like echoes of something that died quietly. You wonder if you said something wrong, if you asked for too much, if being patient somehow turned into being disposable. That's the part no one talks about. The waiting doesn't just hurt, it changes you. It makes you doubt your worth. It teaches you to accept less than you deserve, because at least less feels better than nothing. I waited for you like it was part of my routine, morning, night, every space in between, waiting for your name to light up my screen, waiting for proof that I still mattered to you, waiting for effort you never planned to give, and the hardest truth, deep down, I think you already knew you weren't coming back. You just let me keep waiting anyway. So if we switch roles, maybe then you'd understand the real heartbreak isn't being left, it's being the one who stayed, holding space for someone who had already decided to walk away, because loving someone who disappears teaches you a pain no apology can undo, and hoping for someone who's already gone slowly teaches you how to break your own heart. She made me feel loved, not in a loud way, not in a dramatic way, in a steady way. She checked in, she listened, she remembered the small things, and the crazy part? I didn't know what to do with it, because when you're used to chaos, consistency feels unfamiliar. When you're used to chasing, being chosen feels suspicious. She wasn't confusing, she wasn't distant, she wasn't playing games, she was just there. And for some reason, that scared me more than anything. Healthy love feels calm, and when you're used to chaos, calm can feel boring. There were no mixed signals, no guessing games, no hot and cold energy. She didn't make me question where I stood, and that was new. I was used to intensity, late night arguments, emotional highs and lows, passion that felt like a roller coaster. With her, it was steady, and instead of relaxing into it, I started looking for something wrong. Because when you've been conditioned to associate love with anxiety, peace feels unfamiliar. You mistake stability for a lack of spark, consistency for predictability, security for missing something. But the truth, nothing was missing. I just didn't know how to receive love that didn't hurt first. Sometimes we don't sabotage love because we don't care. We sabotage it because we don't feel worthy of it. She showed up consistently, she communicated clearly, she didn't make me chase, and instead of feeling grateful, I felt exposed, because when someone loves you properly, they see you, not just the confident version, not just the charming version, the insecure parts too, the guarded parts, the parts that still haven't healed. And when you don't fully love yourself, being loved deeply feels uncomfortable. You start thinking, what if she realizes I'm not as solid as I seem? What if she expects more than I can give? What if I mess this up? So you create distance first, you act unsure, you slow down, you convince yourself the timing isn't right, not because she wasn't enough, but because you didn't feel like you were. I told myself it wasn't the right time, that I needed to focus on myself, that I wasn't in the right headspace, that something felt off, but if I'm being honest, nothing was off. I was just scared of being responsible for something real. Scared of being consistent, scared of not being able to hide behind confusion anymore. Because when someone loves you right, there's no chaos to blame, no mixed signals to point at, no drama to distract you. It's just clarity, and clarity means accountability. I couldn't say she didn't show up, she did. I couldn't say she wasn't serious, she was. So the only thing left to question was myself, and that's harder than walking away. You don't always realize what you had while you have it. Sometimes you realize it in the silence after, when the good morning texts stop, when the consistency disappears, when the calm you once questioned is suddenly gone. And that's when it hits. She wasn't boring, she was safe, she wasn't too available, she was intentional. She wasn't lacking spark, she just wasn't chaos. I confused stability with something missing because I was addicted to intensity. And now that it's quiet, I see it clearly. She wasn't asking for too much. She was offering exactly what I claimed I wanted, and the hardest part is realizing she didn't leave because she didn't care. She left because I hesitated. Growth doesn't always happen while you're in something good. Sometimes it happens after you lose it, after the silence, after the distance, after you sit alone with no one to blame but yourself. That's when reflection hits differently. You replay conversations, moments you brushed off, times she asked for reassurance and you gave her half answers, not because you didn't care, but because you weren't mature enough yet to handle something healthy. And the painful part, you finally become the version of yourself that she needed, clearer, more emotionally aware, more ready, but she's not there anymore. And that's the lesson. Sometimes the right person meets you at the wrong version of yourself, and losing them is what forces you to grow. Now the question is different. Do I reach back out, or do I let her have the peace I couldn't give her before because missing someone isn't the same as being ready for them? Regret can feel like growth, loneliness can feel like clarity, but are you actually different, or do you just miss how she made you feel? That's the part nobody talks about. It's easy to want someone back when you finally understand their value. It's harder to admit you might still not be the version they deserve. Reaching out isn't about easing your guilt. It's about being certain you won't repeat the same pattern. Because if she loved you right once, she deserves someone who can love her right back. And if that's finally you, then show up differently. If it's not, let her be loved properly by someone who was ready the first time. Being ready isn't about having your life perfect. It's about emotional responsibility. It's about being able to communicate without shutting down, being consistent without feeling trapped, being vulnerable without running when it gets real. I thought being ready meant having money right, career right, timing right. But she didn't need perfection. She needed presence. She needed reassurance without having to beg for it. She needed clarity without having to decode it. She needed someone who didn't confuse peace with boredom. And the truth, I wasn't emotionally disciplined enough. I like being loved, but I wasn't ready to love back at the same level. And that's the difference. Being ready means you don't just enjoy the love, you reciprocate it fully. Was losing her a mistake, or was it a lesson I had to learn the hard way? At first it felt like a mistake, like I let something rare slip through my hands, like I fumbled the one person who actually showed up right. But the more I sat with it, the more I realized something. If I wasn't ready, I would have hurt her eventually. Not intentionally, not maliciously, but through inconsistency, through hesitation, through emotional immaturity. And she didn't deserve that. Sometimes the loss isn't punishment, it's preparation. Preparation to become the version of yourself who doesn't run from healthy love, who doesn't confuse peace with boredom, who doesn't sabotage stability. Maybe she wasn't meant to stay forever. Maybe she was meant to show me what real love looks like, so I'd stop settling for less and stop being less. And that doesn't erase the regret, but it gives it meaning. Will she ever know how much she meant to me? Probably not in the way she deserved, because when she was loving me out loud, I was loving her quietly. When she was certain, I was unsure. When she was present, I was half in. And now that I finally understand her value, it's in hindsight. But here's what I do know. She raised my standard, not just for what I want, but for who I need to be. She showed me that love doesn't have to be chaotic to be real, that consistency isn't boring, that reassurance isn't weakness, that stability is rare, and maybe she'll never know how much she changed me. Maybe she'll never know that losing her is what forced me to grow. But one day, when I love someone the right way, fully, clearly, consistently, a part of that will be because of her, because she loved me right, even when I wasn't ready, and that's something I'll always respect. I really thought she was different, not in a cliche way, not in that she's not like other girls type of thinking. I genuinely believe she moved differently, because from the start she didn't feel like everyone else. She listened, she asked questions, she made it seem like she actually cared about what I was saying, and that's rare, especially now. So when I felt that kind of energy from her, I didn't hesitate. I opened up. I let my guard down faster than I normally would, because when you think someone is different, you stop protecting yourself the same way. You start believing this might actually be something real, and for a while, it felt like it was. The conversations were easy. Nothing felt forced. It felt like we were naturally building something without trying too hard. And that's what convinced me the most, because real connections aren't supposed to feel complicated. They're supposed to feel natural. So I leaned into it. I gave her my time, my attention, my energy, and I didn't second guess it, because in my head I wasn't just talking to someone random. I was building with someone who was different. At least that's what I thought. The more I talked to her, the more convinced I became that she wasn't like everyone else, because she didn't play games. At least, it didn't feel like she did. She replied consistently. She didn't disappear randomly. She made the effort to keep conversations going. And when you've dealt with enough inconsistency before, that kind of energy stands out. It feels real, so I trusted it. I stopped overthinking things. I stopped questioning her intentions, because when someone shows you consistency, it feels like proof. Proof that they're serious, proof that they're different, proof that this might actually go somewhere. And that's when I started investing more, not just time, but emotionally. I started letting her see parts of me I don't usually show right away. The way I think, the things I've been through, the way I actually feel about certain things, because I thought she was someone who would understand it, someone who wouldn't take that lightly, and she made it seem like she didn't. She would listen, she would respond in a way that felt genuine. She made it feel like what I was saying actually mattered to her, and that's what pulled me in deeper, because attention is one thing, but understanding That's different, or at least it's supposed to be. But what I didn't realize at the time was this: just because someone understands you doesn't mean they value you the way you think they do. That realization didn't hit me right away. At first, everything still felt real, because when someone listens to you, understands you, and responds in a way that feels genuine, it's easy to believe they care on a deeper level. And I did. I thought she saw me. Not just the surface version, but the real version. And that's not something I give out easily. For the more she showed that side of herself, the more I leaned in, the more I believed this wasn't temporary. But slowly, things started shifting. Not in a dramatic way, nothing obvious, just small changes. Her replies weren't as consistent. The energy in conversations felt a little different. The effort started feeling slightly uneven. At first I ignored it, because when you believe someone is different, you don't immediately assume they're changing. You assume something else is going on. Maybe she's busy, maybe she's stressed, maybe she just needs space. So I stayed patient. I didn't pull back. I didn't question her. I just kept showing up the same way I always did. Because in my mind, you don't give up on something real just because it feels off for a moment. But here's the thing I didn't realize yet. When someone is actually different, their consistency doesn't disappear without explanation. That's when I started noticing something I didn't want to admit. The version of her I thought was different only existed in certain moments, not consistently, because when everything was good, she showed up fully. She was present, engaged, easy to talk to, but when something shifted, even slightly, that same energy disappeared, and that's where the confusion started, because now I wasn't just dealing with inconsistency, I was dealing with contrast. One day it felt real, the next day it felt distant. And when you've seen someone at their best, it's hard to accept their worst. So instead of questioning the connection, I started chasing the version of her I thought was real. The version that listened, the version that understood, the version that made everything feel easy. I kept telling myself, that's who she really is, and maybe sometimes it was. But here's the truth I had to face. If someone only shows up for you sometimes, that's not who they are. That's just who they are when it's convenient. And I didn't want to believe that, because admitting that meant admitting something bigger, that maybe she wasn't different. I just experienced her best moments and mistook them for her whole character. Once I accepted that the different version of her wasn't consistent, something else started becoming clear. I wasn't reacting to who she actually was. I was reacting to who I thought she was. And that's a dangerous place to be, because when you build feelings based on someone's best moments, you start ignoring their patterns. You hold on to the highs and excuse the lows. You remember how good it felt when everything clicked, and you convince yourself that version of them is the real one. So every time she pulled away, I didn't take it at face value. I told myself she'll come back to how she was. Every time the energy dropped, I didn't question it. I just stayed consistent, hoping things would reset. And sometimes they did. She would come back. The conversations would feel right again. The connection would feel easy again, and those moments would convince me all over again that she was different. But now, I understand something I didn't see back then. Those moments weren't proof of consistency, they were just temporary alignment. And temporary alignment feels real when you want something to work, but real connection doesn't come and go like that. It stays. The more I thought about it, the more I realized something I didn't want to admit. I wasn't in a stable connection. I was in a cycle of highs and lows that kept resetting my feelings every time things felt good again, because every time she came back with that same energy, the version of her that felt easy, understanding, and real, it made me forget everything that didn't make sense. It made me forget the distance, the inconsistency, the moments where I felt like I was the only one holding it together. And that's how cycles keep you stuck. They give you just enough to stay. but never enough to feel secure, and I confused that with something meaningful. I thought the fact that we could get back to that good place meant something. I thought it meant the connection was strong enough to survive anything. But now I understand something clearly. If something keeps breaking and resetting, it's not strong, it's unstable, and I was calling instability different because I didn't want to accept that it wasn't what I thought it was. At some point, I had to stop focusing on how she was in her best moments and start paying attention to how she showed up consistently, because consistency tells you the truth, not the highlights, not the good days, not the moments where everything feels perfect. Consistency. And when I looked at that honestly, the picture changed. She wasn't always there, she wasn't always present, she wasn't always giving the same energy I was. And that's when it hit me. Someone who is actually different doesn't make you feel unsure about where you stand. They don't make you question their effort. They don't make you feel like you're chasing clarity. They give you that clarity naturally, and I didn't have that. I had moments of clarity mixed with long stretches of confusion, and confusion isn't what different feels like. Once I stopped chasing the version of her I wanted, everything started making more sense, because the truth is, she didn't change. I just started seeing her clearly. She was consistent in one way. She showed up when it was easy, when the energy was good, when the conversations were light, when everything felt natural. But when things required depth, consistency, effort over time, that's when the difference showed. And that's when I had to admit something to myself. She wasn't different in the way I thought. She was just different from what I was used to at the beginning. And I held on to that version too long. For a while, that realization hurt more than anything else, because it made me feel like I misread everything, like I believed in something that wasn't actually there. But over time, I started understanding something important. I didn't imagine a connection. Those moments were real. They just weren't sustainable. And that's the difference. Something can feel real in the moment and still not be built to last. And I think that's what I experienced. Not something fake, just something temporary that I thought was permanent. So yeah, I thought she was different, and in some ways she was. She showed me a version of connection that felt real. She made it easy to open up. She made it feel like something deeper was possible. But being different at the beginning isn't the same as being consistent in the long run. And that's the lesson I had to learn, because the right person isn't just different when things are good. They're consistent when things aren't. They don't come and go. They don't leave you guessing. They don't make you question what you felt. They match it every time. So no, she wasn't the kind of different I thought she was. But now I know what real different actually looks like. And next time, I won't confuse moments for meaning. Losing the person who is part of your daily routine is a different kind of pain. Not just losing them emotionally, but losing the version of life that existed with them in it. Every morning felt automatic. Wake up, grab your phone, text her good morning without even thinking about it. Sometimes you'd FaceTime right after. Sometimes you'd meet her at school, walk together, laugh about nothing, complain about everything. It wasn't just love. It was habit. It was comfort. It was routine. And when someone is woven into your day like that, when they're built into the structure of your life for months, losing them doesn't just hurt, it disrupts everything. Especially when that person was your best friend. The one you called whenever something went wrong. The one you didn't hesitate to reach out to. The moment a problem entered your mind, you already knew who you were calling. Advice, reassurance, ideas, they were your first option every time, and now you still reach for your phone out of instinct, only to remember you can't call them anymore. You can't text them like before. You can't talk it out the way you used to. That connection is gone, and the silence feels heavier than any argument ever did. Or maybe it was your girlfriend. The person you did everything with. The movies, the random food runs, the plans you assumed would always include her. A new movie comes out, and for a split second your brain says, let's go see it together. Then reality hits, you You broke up, you're blocked, she's no longer accessible, not online, not in real life, not in the way she used to be. And what nobody really talks about is how your body remembers them too. Your body got used to that text tone. Every notification used to feel like it might be her. Your heart would jump without you even realizing why. Now your phone buzzes, and it's just a bill reminder or some random notification that doesn't mean anything. And you sit there staring at your screen, realizing how much changed when she was in your life and how empty the routine feels without her. Your days don't flow the same anymore. The structure is gone. The familiarity is gone. The person who anchored so many moments is no longer there to hold them together. And maybe the hardest part of all is accepting that you have to learn how to live life alone again. Not because you want to, but because the routine you built with them no longer exists. I don't think I was ever her first choice. Not really. At the time I thought I was. She talked to me every day. She laughed at my jokes. She told me things she said she didn't tell anyone else. And when someone gives you that kind of attention, it's easy to believe you're the person they truly want. So I believed it. I believed that when she said she cared, she meant it. I believed that when she chose to spend time with me, it meant I mattered. I believed that whatever we were building was real. But looking back now, there were small signs I ignored, little moments where something didn't fully add up, times where she seemed unsure about us, times where her attention felt divided, times where it felt like she was still searching for something, even while she was with me. At the time, I brushed those moments off, because when you care about someone, you don't want to believe you're just an option. You want to believe you're the decision. So I stayed patient, I stayed loyal, I kept showing up the same way every day. But the truth is, when someone sees you as their first choice, you don't feel uncertain about it. You don't feel like you're competing with invisible possibilities. You don't feel like their attention could shift at any moment. Being someone's first choice feels stable, it feels clear, and what we had wasn't always clear. There were moments where it felt strong, but there were also moments where it felt like I was trying harder to keep the connection alive. Like I was the one holding the weight of something she wasn't fully sure about, and I didn't want to admit that to myself because nobody wants to believe they're someone's second option. But eventually the truth shows itself, not through words, through choices, and one day her choices made something very clear. I wasn't the person she truly wanted, I was the person she stayed with until someone else felt like a better direction. And that realization hurts in a way that's hard to explain, because it doesn't just break your heart, it makes you question every moment that came before it. Once the idea entered my head that I might not have been her first choice, it was impossible to ignore, because suddenly memories started looking different. Moments that once felt normal started carrying a different meaning. I remember the times she hesitated when talking about the future, the times she seemed distracted when we were together, the times where her energy felt slightly distant, even though she was right there in front of me. Back then I didn't question it too much. When you care about someone, you naturally assume the best about them. You assume the connection is mutual. You assume the effort you're putting in is being matched emotionally, but sometimes the truth sits quietly in the background while we convince ourselves everything is fine. And that's what it felt like when I started replaying those memories. Like the signs were always there, but I didn't want to see them. Because nobody wants to believe they're the backup plan. Nobody wants to believe they're the person someone stays with while they're still figuring out what they really want. But when someone truly sees you as their first choice, things feel different. There's clarity, there's certainty. You don't constantly feel like you have to prove why you deserve to be there. You don't feel like their attention might shift if the right opportunity appears. But with her, there were moments where I felt that uncertainty, and I kept pushing it away because admitting it would have meant admitting something painful, that maybe she cared about me, but not in the way I cared about her. And that's a difficult thing to face, because it means the connection wasn't equal. One person was fully invested, the other person was still deciding, And when one person is deciding while the other person is committed, the balance is already off. You're building something with someone who hasn't fully chosen you yet, and eventually that imbalance reveals itself, not through arguments, not through dramatic moments, through decisions, and decisions don't lie. One day, her decision made something very clear to me. I wasn't the person she was always sure about. I was the person she stayed with, while she kept wondering if someone else might be a better choice. When you start realizing you were never someone's first choice, the hardest part isn't the breakup. It's the realization that you were trying to win a place in someone's life that was never fully yours. Because when someone truly chooses you, you don't feel like you're competing with invisible options. You don't feel like their attention could disappear the moment something new shows up. You don't feel like you constantly have to prove why you deserve to be there. But with her, that feeling existed sometimes, not all the time, just enough to quietly sit in the back of my mind. There were moments where everything felt perfect. We'd talk for hours, we'd laugh like nothing else in the world mattered. And during those moments, I believed completely that I was the person she wanted. But then there were other moments where she seemed unsure, moments where her energy changed, moments where I felt like I was the one holding the connection together. And the strange thing about being someone's second option is this: they can still care about you, they can still enjoy your company, they can still appreciate what you bring into their life, but deep down, there's a part of them that hasn't fully committed, a part of them that's still wondering, still looking, still asking themselves if there's something else out there that fits them better. And that's a painful place to stand in someone's life, because while you're building something real, they're still evaluating it. You're investing, they're deciding, you're certain, they're uncertain, and when one person is certain while the other person is unsure, the outcome is almost always the same. Eventually, the person who was unsure finds a direction that feels clearer to them. And when that happens, the person who was giving everything suddenly realizes something heartbreaking. They were never the final decision. They were the temporary one. The moment I finally accepted that I was never her first choice, everything started making more sense. For the longest time, I thought the problem was something I did wrong. Maybe I didn't say the right things. Maybe I didn't keep things exciting enough. Maybe I should have noticed the distance sooner. Your mind does that when someone walks away. It starts searching for mistakes you could fix. Because if there's a mistake, then maybe there was a way to save it. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized something uncomfortable. I wasn't losing because I failed. I was losing because she was never fully choosing me to begin with. There's a big difference between someone being with you and someone being certain about you. At the time, I thought those were the same thing, but they're not. Someone can spend time with you, someone can laugh with you, someone can even care about you, and still not see you as the person they're fully committed to. And when someone isn't fully committed, their heart stays open to other possibilities. That's where the uncertainty comes from. That's why the energy sometimes feels inconsistent. That's why you occasionally feel like you're trying harder than they are, because deep down, one person is already sure, and the other person is still deciding. And when someone is still deciding, the moment another option appears, everything shifts, not because you suddenly became less valuable, but because they were never finished searching. Looking back, that's what hurts the most. Not that she left, but that I gave my loyalty to someone who was still questioning if I was the person they really wanted, because loyalty only feels safe when it's mutual, when both people are standing in the same place emotionally, when both people have already decided this is the person I'm choosing. But that's not what we had. I had already chosen her. She was still deciding if she should choose me, and eventually she didn't. After that realization hit me that I was never really her first choice, something inside me shifted. At first, it felt humiliating because nobody wants to admit they were standing in someone's life as a possibility instead of a priority. You start thinking about all the effort you gave, all the time you invested, all the patience you showed, all the loyalty you carried for someone who wasn't standing on the same level of certainty. And the painful part is this: while I was building something solid in my mind, she was still deciding whether she wanted to stay. That imbalance is invisible when you're inside the relationship, because when you love someone, you assume the feeling is mutual. You assume they're just as sure as you are. But certainty has a different energy. When someone is sure about you, there's no hesitation, no distance, no quiet sense that you're being evaluated. They don't keep looking around. They don't keep wondering if something better might appear. They simply choose you, and they keep choosing you. Looking back now, I can see the difference where, with her, there were moments where everything felt strong, but there were also moments where it felt like she was slightly pulling away. Moments where the connection felt uneven. Moments where it felt like I was trying to hold something steady while she was still questioning it. At the time, I thought those moments were temporary. I thought if I stayed patient, if I kept showing up the same way, eventually she would feel as certain as I did. But certainty doesn't grow out of pressure, it grows out of genuine alignment. And if someone doesn't feel that alignment, no amount of loyalty can force it. That's the truth I had to accept. She didn't leave because I failed. She left because she was never completely convinced that I was the person she wanted to build her future with. And that realization hurts in a very specific way because it makes you feel like you were standing in someone's life waiting to be chosen while they were quietly considering someone else. The hardest part about realizing you were never someone's first choice isn't just the heartbreak, it's the way it makes you question your own judgment. Because when you look back, you start wondering how you didn't see it sooner, how you didn't notice the hesitation, how you didn't recognize the moments where her energy didn't fully match yours. But the truth is, when you care about someone, you don't analyze them like a stranger. You trust them, you take their words seriously, you assume the connection means the same thing to them as it does to you. So when she said she cared, I believed her. When she spent time with me, I thought it meant I was important to her. When we talked about things that felt personal, I thought that meant we were building something real. And maybe in her own way she did care. But caring about someone and being certain about them are two completely different things. Someone can care about you and still not see you as their future. Someone can enjoy being with you while still wondering if someone else might feel more right. And when someone is still wondering, you end up standing in a very fragile place in their life, because the moment something new appears, something that feels more exciting, more aligned, or simply different, their uncertainty starts leaning in a new direction. And that's what eventually happened. She didn't suddenly stop liking me. She just found someone she felt more sure about. And the moment that happened, everything changed. The attention shifted, the conversations faded, the connection that once felt strong suddenly felt like it was slipping through my hands. In that moment, I finally understood something I had been avoiding. I wasn't losing my place in her life. I was losing the position I never truly had. I wasn't the person she had fully chosen. I was the person she stayed with while she was still deciding. Once I accepted that I was never her first choice, another realization started settling in. I wasn't just hurt because she left. I was hurt because of what it revealed about the entire relationship. Because when you think someone chose you, you build your whole mindset around that belief. You become loyal, you become patient, you invest your time and your emotions because you believe the other person is standing in the same place as you. But when you realize they weren't, it changes how you see everything that happened before. I started noticing the imbalance more clearly, the moments where I adjusted my schedule to make time for her, the moments where I tried to fix problems because I thought the relationship mattered equally to both of us. The moments where I stayed calm and patient during times she felt distant. I thought I was protecting something meaningful, but now I understand something I didn't see then. I was protecting a relationship that she was still questioning. And when one person is protecting something while the other person is still deciding if they even want it, the outcome is almost inevitable, because eventually the person who's unsure finds something that feels more certain. And when that happens, the person who was investing everything suddenly realizes something painful. They were standing in someone's life waiting to be chosen by someone who had never fully chosen them in the first place. That's a difficult truth to accept, because it forces you to admit that the relationship meant more to you than it did to them. It forces you to admit that while you were building something in your mind, they were still exploring their options, and that realization hits your pride in a way that's hard to describe, not because you hate the other person, but because it makes you question your own judgment. It makes you wonder how you didn't see the difference between being valued and being temporarily convenient. But over time, I started understanding something important. Being someone's first choice isn't something you should have to fight to become. It isn't something you should have to prove you deserve. When someone truly sees you as their first choice, it feels clear, it feels stable. You don't spend your time wondering if someone else might replace you, because they've already decided where they stand. And with her, that decision was never fully made, not in the way I thought it was. After enough time passed, the pain of realizing I was never her first choice slowly started turning into something else. Clarity, because once the emotions settle down, you begin seeing the relationship without the illusion you had while you were inside it. When I was with her, I kept thinking that if I just stayed loyal enough, patient enough, supportive enough, eventually she would see that I was the right person. I thought certainty was something that would grow over time, but real certainty doesn't need to be convinced, it doesn't need to be proven. When someone truly sees you as their first choice, they don't hesitate. They don't keep looking around. They don't treat you like a possibility they're still evaluating. They choose you, and that choice feels obvious. Looking back, I realized I spent a lot of time trying to earn a position that should have been natural. Trying harder, showing more patience, giving more understanding whenever things felt off. And at the time, I thought that effort meant I was being strong. But now I understand something I didn't see before. You shouldn't have to fight to become someone's first choice. If someone truly values you, you won't feel like you're constantly proving your worth. You won't feel like your place in their life is temporary. You won't feel like their attention could shift the moment something new appears with the right person. That kind of uncertainty doesn't exist, and realizing that changed the way I looked at the whole situation, because for a long time I thought losing her meant I lost something important, but the truth is I lost a position that was never fully secure to begin with. I was trying to build a future with someone who had never fully decided that I was the person they wanted to build it with. And once you see that clearly, the pain starts losing its power, because you realize something important. You didn't lose someone who was fully committed to you. You lost someone who was still searching. Once I finally accepted that I was never her first choice, something unexpected happened. The story in my head started changing. For a long time, I looked at the situation like I had lost something valuable, like someone had taken my place, like I had somehow been replaced by someone better. But when you step back from the emotion and really look at the situation, you start realizing something different. I wasn't replaced, I was simply standing in a place that was never fully mine. Because when someone truly sees you as their first choice, there isn't a long period of hesitation. There isn't a constant feeling that something might change. There isn't a quiet sense that they're still evaluating their options. When someone knows they want you, The energy feels different, it feels stable, it feels certain. You don't spend your time wondering where you stand. You already know. And the truth is, with her, I never fully had that certainty. There were moments where it felt strong, moments where the connection felt real, but there were also moments where something felt slightly off, moments where I felt like I was trying harder to hold things together, moments where it felt like she was still deciding how much of herself she wanted to give. At the time, I ignored those feelings, because when you love someone, you want to believe the connection is mutual, you want to believe the effort is balanced, but effort and certainty are two different things. Someone can enjoy what you give them while still being unsure if you're the person they truly want. And when someone is unsure, their heart is still open to other possibilities. That's what eventually happened. She didn't suddenly stop caring about me. She simply found someone she felt more certain about. And once that certainty appeared, my place in her life disappeared. At first, that realization felt humiliating, but over time it started feeling like clarity, because it reminded me of something important. You shouldn't have to fight to become someone's first choice. If someone truly values you, that position is obvious. Looking back now, the hardest part about realizing I was never her first choice wasn't the breakup, it was the lesson. Because it forced me to understand something about relationships that I didn't fully grasp before. Love isn't just about how much you care about someone. It's about whether that care is equally returned. You can be loyal, you can be patient, you can give someone your time, your attention, and your effort, but if the other person hasn't fully chosen you, none of that guarantees they'll stay. And that's a painful truth to learn, but it's also an important one because it changes the way you look at relationships moving forward. It teaches you that being someone's first choice isn't something you should have to earn through constant effort. It should be something they feel naturally, something they decide clearly, something they show through their actions. Because when someone truly chooses you, you won't feel like you're competing with invisible possibilities. You won't feel like their attention could disappear at any moment. You won't feel like you're just temporarily filling a space in their life. You'll feel secure, you'll feel valued, you'll feel chosen, and that's the kind of connection everyone deserves. For a long time, I thought realizing I was never her first choice meant I had lost something important, but now I see it differently. What I actually lost was a situation where I was giving my loyalty to someone who had never fully decided they wanted it, and losing that isn't a failure, it's a redirection. Because one day I'll meet someone who doesn't hesitate, someone who doesn't keep looking for alternatives, someone who doesn't treat my presence like something temporary, someone who chooses me without needing time to decide. And when that happens, the difference will be obvious. Because for the first time, I won't feel like I'm trying to become someone's first choice. I'll simply know that I already am. Lust will ruin your life if you don't learn how to recognize it for what it really is. Not temptation, not desire, not even attraction. Lust is a signal. It's like a check engine light flashing on your dashboard, warning you that something deeper is wrong under the surface. And most people don't want to hear that. They'd rather numb it, feed it, distract themselves with it, instead of asking why it showed up in the first place. Because here's the truth. When lust starts controlling your thoughts, your habits, your attention, it usually means you're lacking something real in your life. Not sex, not validation, intimacy. And intimacy doesn't always mean romance. That's where a lot of people get it twisted. Intimacy can be connection, it can be purpose, it can be faith, it can be feeling seen by people who actually care about you. It can be having someone you can talk to honestly without pretending you're okay. When those things are missing, lust steps in as a cheap replacement, gives you a temporary hit, a moment of feeling wanted, a moment of escape, but once that moment passes, you're left emptier than before. That's why lust never satisfies. It promises relief, but delivers restlessness. You indulge, and instead of feeling fulfilled, you feel more hollow. more disconnected, more frustrated with yourself. And then the cycle repeats. Because you're not fixing the problem, you're feeding the symptom. The craving itself isn't the enemy. The lack of awareness is. Lust shows up when you're avoiding something, when you're lonely, when you're stressed, when you're disconnected from yourself. It's your mind trying to fill a void without doing the work to understand why that void exists in the first place. And the more you indulge it without reflection, the more it delays your healing. You tell yourself it's harmless, that it's normal, that everyone does it. But deep down, you know when something isn't sitting right with your spirit. You know when it's no longer about desire and more about escape. This isn't about shame, it's about honesty. Lust is an indicator, a warning sign. A moment where you need to pause and ask yourself, what am I really craving right now? Connection? Comfort? Meaning? Peace? Because until you figure that out, lust will keep pulling you further away from yourself instead of closer to who you're meant to be. Most people don't want to admit this part, but lust usually shows up when you're feeling empty, not when you're fulfilled, when your life feels aligned, when you're grounded, when you have purpose and connection. Lust doesn't scream as loud. It might knock, but it doesn't take over. It only takes control when there's space inside you that hasn't been filled with anything meaningful. That's why lust hits hardest late at night, when you're alone, when the noise dies down, when there's nothing left to distract you from your thoughts. That's when your mind starts looking for something, anything, to feel good for a moment. And lust offers that shortcut. No effort, no vulnerability, no risk of rejection. Just instant stimulation. But shortcuts always come with a cost. The more you use lust as an escape, the harder it becomes to sit with yourself. You start avoiding silence, avoiding stillness, avoiding the questions you don't want to answer. You tell yourself you're just satisfying a desire, but really you're training your brain to seek relief instead of growth, comfort instead of clarity. And over time, that changes you. It dulls your motivation. It weakens your discipline. It distorts how you view people, turning them into objects instead of humans. It lowers your tolerance for real connection because real intimacy requires patience, presence, and effort. Things lust never asks of you. This is why people who live in lust often feel stuck, not because they're bad or weak, but because they're constantly numbing the very discomfort that could push them to grow. Pain becomes something to escape instead of something to understand, and healing gets postponed again and again. You have to learn to pause when the urge hits, not to fight it with shame, but to question it. Ask yourself what you're actually missing in that moment. Is it connection, purpose, rest, direction? Because the urge is information, and if you listen to it instead of obeying it, it can lead you to what actually needs attention in your life. Lust loses power the moment you become aware of it. Here's where it gets uncomfortable but important. Lust isn't just about what you want, it's about what you're avoiding. Most people don't struggle with lust because they're overly sexual. They struggle because they're disconnected from themselves, from their purpose, from real relationships, from meaning. When you don't feel fulfilled in your day-to-day life, your mind looks for stimulation, something intense enough to make you forget how empty things feel. Lust is powerful because it hijacks your attention. It pulls you out of the present moment and into fantasy. And fantasy is easier than reality. Fantasy doesn't ask you to change. Reality does. That's why lust becomes a habit, not because it feels good, but because it distracts you from feeling bad. It numbs loneliness, it masks insecurity, it gives you a false sense of control when everything else in your life feels uncertain. But every time you choose that escape, you reinforce the idea that you can't handle discomfort without running from it. And that slowly chips away at you. You start feeling weaker mentally, less disciplined, less confident. You promise yourself you'll stop, then you don't. And now it's not just lust anymore, it's guilt, shame, self-disappointment. You start questioning your self-control, your character, your ability to change, all because you never addressed the root issue in the first place. The problem isn't desire. Desire is human. The problem is unchanneled desire. Desire without direction turns into self-destruction. When your energy isn't going into building something meaningful, it leaks into things that drain you instead. This is why people who overcome lust don't just resist harder, they replace it, they build structure, they strengthen their spirit, they deepen their relationships, they find something worth committing to that gives them purpose beyond momentary pleasure. Lust thrives in isolation, in boredom, in lack of direction. But when your life has meaning, when your days are intentional, when your spirit feels aligned, lust doesn't have much room to grow. It doesn't disappear overnight, but it stops controlling you. Another reason lust has so much power is because it disguises itself as confidence. It makes you feel wanted, desired, in control. For a brief moment, it tricks you into thinking you're fulfilled. But once that moment fades, you're left with the same questions, the same restlessness, the same hollow feeling you were trying to escape in the first place. That's how you know it's not real fulfillment. Real fulfillment doesn't vanish the second the stimulation stops. Real fulfillment gives you peace afterward, not regret. Clarity, not confusion. Strength, not self-disgust. And over time, if you're not careful, lust can start shaping how you view yourself. You begin to associate your worth with how desired you feel instead of who you actually are. You start needing validation just to feel okay. And when that validation isn't there, the craving comes back stronger, not because you're weak, but because your identity is being built on something unstable. This is where self-awareness becomes everything. You have to catch yourself and ask, what am I really avoiding right now? Am I running from loneliness, from boredom, from the work I know I need to do on myself? Lust often shows up when you're avoiding growth, when you're putting off healing, when you're ignoring parts of your life that need attention. The uncomfortable truth is that growth requires sitting with discomfort, requires stillness, silence, discipline, and lust offers you an easy way out of that process. But every time you take that exit, you delay becoming the version of yourself you know you're capable of being. You don't have to be perfect. You're going to slip. You're going to struggle. That's part of being human. What matters is whether you're conscious of the pattern or blindly repeating it. Awareness alone starts breaking the cycle. Because the goal isn't to eliminate desire. Desire is natural. The goal is to stop letting desire control you, to stop letting it dictate your habits, your focus, and your future. When you do that, you don't lose pleasure, you gain freedom. Here's where things start to shift if you're willing to be honest with yourself. Lust isn't just about what you want. It's about what you're avoiding becoming. Every time you give in without thinking, you're choosing comfort over growth. And that choice, repeated enough times, slowly shapes the direction of your life. You start delaying things you know you should be doing. Goals get pushed back, discipline weakens, motivation fades. Not all at once, but subtly. You tell yourself you'll lock in tomorrow, you'll change next week, you'll get serious later. But later keeps moving, and you stay stuck in the same patterns, wondering why nothing feels different. And the worst part? Lust makes you numb to it. It gives you just enough relief to tolerate a life you know you're not fully proud of. It lowers the urgency to change, because why face the discomfort of growth when you can distract yourself instead? This is why so many people feel lost, not because they lack potential, but because they keep trading long-term fulfillment for short-term relief. And relief is never the same as peace. Relief fades, peace stays. When you start addressing the real voids in your life, lust starts losing its grip naturally. When you build structure into your days, when you commit to something bigger than yourself, when you start respecting your time, your body, your mind, when you develop a relationship with God, purpose or discipline, whatever grounds you, lust doesn't hit as hard because now you have something to protect. You realize your energy is valuable, your attention is valuable, and not everything deserves access to you. You stop feeding impulses that don't align with the future you're trying to build, not out of fear, but out of respect for yourself. That's when lust stops feeling like a battle, it starts feeling like a signal. A reminder to check in with yourself, to ask, am I aligned right now? Or am I avoiding something I need to face? And every time you choose alignment over impulse, you get a little stronger, a little clearer, a little more in control. At this stage, you start realizing something important. Lust was never the root problem, it was the symptom. The real issue was disconnection. Disconnection from yourself, from purpose, from meaning, from the version of you that feels grounded and whole. Once you see that, the urge loses some of its mystery. It's no longer this uncontrollable force, it's just information. You begin to notice patterns. The urges come when you're tired, when you're bored, when you feel unaccomplished at the end of the day, when you avoided something you know you should have handled, and instead of judging yourself for it, you start listening. You ask, what am I missing right now? Rest, direction, fulfillment, human connection. This is where growth actually happens. When you suppress desire, but when you replace it. When you choose to build instead of escape. When you put energy into things that give back instead of drain you. Working on your body, your craft, your faith, your friendships. Things that leave you stronger afterward, not emptier. And the crazy part is, the more you do this, the quieter lust becomes. Not because it's gone, but because it's no longer needed to cope. You're not running from yourself anymore. You're becoming someone you respect. You start carrying yourself differently. Your confidence becomes real, not borrowed from temporary validation. You don't need constant stimulation to feel alive. You feel solid just being present, just being disciplined, just knowing you're moving in the right direction even when it's uncomfortable. That's when self-control stops feeling like restriction and starts feeling like freedom. Freedom from compulsions, freedom from regret, freedom from waking up feeling disappointed in yourself. You're no longer controlled by every urge that passes through your mind. You won't be perfect. Nobody is, but you'll be conscious. And consciousness changes everything, because once you're aware, you get to choose, and choosing growth over impulse again and again is how you reclaim your life. There's a moment where you finally understand that discipline isn't about denying yourself pleasure. It's about choosing a better one, a deeper one. The kind that doesn't disappear the second the screen goes dark or the urge passes, the kind that stays with you when you're alone with your thoughts and you can actually respect the person staring back at you. You start realizing how much time and energy you were leaking, hours, focus, mental clarity, all going towards something that never loved you back, never built you up, never moved your life forward. And once you see that clearly, it's hard to unsee it. You begin protecting your mind the same way you'd protect your body. You stop feeding it things that weaken it. Now, this is where restraint becomes self-respect. You're no longer saying no because you're scared. You're saying no because you finally understand the cost of saying yes. You've felt the emptiness after. You've lived the fog. You've experienced how indulging too much slowly disconnects you from your ambition, your relationships, your purpose. And something else changes too. You start seeing people differently, not as objects, not as outlets, but as humans again, with depth, with emotion, with stories. Real connection stops feeling boring. It starts feeling rare, valuable, something worth protecting instead of rushing. That's when intimacy starts to return in healthier forms. Real conversations, genuine friendships, moments of stillness that don't need to be filled, a sense of closeness with yourself that you didn't even realize you were missing. And once you taste that, lust loses its grip even more, because now you're building something, a life you don't need to escape from, a version of yourself you're proud of. When that happens, the urge doesn't disappear, but it no longer controls you. It passes like a thought, like a wave. At the end of the day, lust only has power when you don't understand it. When you finally see it for what it is, a signal, not a solution, it stops running your life. You stop treating it like something you must obey and start treating it like something you observe, and that shift changes everything. You realize you don't need to be perfect to be disciplined. You just need to be honest. Honest about what you're missing, honest about what you're avoiding, honest about who you want to become, because every urge is an invitation, not to indulge, but to check in. Once you start responding instead of reacting, you regain control. You stop letting momentary desire dictate long-term direction. You stop trading peace for pleasure. You stop delaying your growth for comfort, and slowly, your life begins to align with the values you claim to have. Lust didn't ruin you. It revealed the places where healing was needed, the moments where connection was missing, the areas of your life that needed structure, purpose, and depth. And once you start filling those spaces intentionally, lust no longer screams for attention. It fades into the background. You become more present, more focused, more grounded. You don't feel constantly pulled in 100 directions anymore. You know what matters, you know what doesn't, and you act accordingly. This isn't about becoming cold or denying desire. It's about mastering yourself, about building a life where your mind works for you, not against you, where your choices reflect your values, where you don't need escape because you're finally moving towards something real. And when you get there, you'll look back and realize something important. The urge was never the enemy. Ignoring the message was.